boy, oh boy, do we have a special episode today. I'm actually so excited. Aurora finding themselves in the headlines, and I'm really excited to get into the nitty gritty, guys.
Well, Janko's been casting their pursuit of the trophy in Serbia. Janko, you've been a man on the ground. You've seen Aurora around the building. Do you have any reports regarding Aurora?
Yes, Chad, absolutely. Aurora was so dominant at FISSURE that they actually qualified for the playoffs before the update.
Okay.
So they didn't have to play on the final day on the new update. They looked incredibly strong, 3-0 alongside Falcons, straight into the playoffs after the first 3 days, had extra time to prepare and also whine on social media.
It's funny, it's both Nico and Zentaris put tweets out. The two of them. The two of them put tweets out.
Back to back.
I think this is with those two guys, right? I wish that they would elaborate a little bit more, right? Especially Nico's one. Like at least Zentaris said the spray was fucked, right? But Nico's is just like, how can it get worse with every update? I've been playing a little bit, and there's definitely some stuff that's changed. So people have been talking about like memory leaks or low frames. People have been talking about, the movement maybe feeling a little bit off. In terms of the spray, I don't know. Like I've just been playing deathmatch, so like I don't really feel
not really spraying a whole lot.
I'm also not one of the best riflers in the world, which both Zentaris and Nico fall into the category of. I think if anybody knows what's going on with the spray, I think they probably have a pretty good idea.
Guys who had to go up against you at Face It, they might think otherwise.
Yeah, listen. Boys, we can get back to this stuff in a second. Right?
I know. I was going to say I didn't actually mean to get us into the nitty gritty. I wanted to just have a little bit of fun.
There is some genuine fun stuff though, Jason, coming from your part of the world. I don't know if you've seen it.
Okay.
Have you seen it, Janko?
Interesting.
I don't know what you're aiming at.
Yeah, it depends on where we're going with this.
So there's a player called No Cries who's been playing in Faze and owning everybody in North America. Has a Mongolian flag, and it's kind of been like all the rage at the moment in like the North American Counter-Strike community. And Lim, the guy who I always talk about, who puts those like POVs up on YouTube, right? He puts the POV. Yep. He has put up one of this No Cries guy playing a North American pug, and he has like over 4,000 ELO. And I don't want to do like North American Counter-Strike bashing because I know we have a segment of our audience who get upset when I do that. This isn't my like intention or anything. But the ELO of the lobby that he's working with are probably around like the 2.5K mark, like level 10s. And he just fucking owns. Like he has like 39 kills just or something ridiculous, right? So I watched this thing, and like people are accusing him of cheating and stuff, and like because he's essentially come from nowhere, so he's getting accused of cheating and everything along these lines.
Sure.
Now, whether he is cheating or isn't, I'm not one of the guys who just goes out on like the witch hunt and off of this just goes, yeah, he must be cheating, right? Like he has very good crosshair placement, like his movement looks good. Feels like he has a really good flow to the game, and I'm watching like the radar. I would have to actually download the demo to watch what the opponents are doing, but the stuff that the opponents do doesn't look like it's a Dust 2 pug, and I'm sitting going, okay, so where's the short molly? Where's the mid-door smoke? Why do we have 3 T's top mid with a Galil all spamming a mid-door smoke at the same time? Like, I'm just, like, some of the shit, I'm going, what's going on here? And this guy's just owning. And then, Jason, get this. I went to his FACEIT profile and just started to fucking, like, look and just scroll through matches. And there's so many matches there, bro. At one point, I'm sitting there with Rush, and I just scrolled to, like, a random point. Let's see if I can find where Rush sent it to me. Did he send it there? No. So we were looking at where is it here? Fuck, I've got it somewhere. Here it is. We were looking at, randomly I scrolled to a day. I scrolled to the 19th of August, right? And his first match on the 19th of August was I think it's finished at 6:43 a.m., right? His first match of the day.
he's just fucking grinding it.
But listen to this. He then played one that ended at 7:24, then 8:23, then 9:06, right? Then he had a bit of a break in the middle of the day, like a decent one. Started playing again at nighttime. Played it.
Probably took a nap.
Right? Yeah, but then he played.
See where this is going.
He played from at 7:30 p.m., 8. He played a couple games at 8. He played one at 9. He kept playing, bro. There was, within this time span of 24 hours, he played 24 maps of Counter-Strike. Within 24 hours. And like, I'll get you his profile. Just look and just scroll at the sheer amount of matches this guy
that's a wild
plays.
grind.
Right? Like, it's insane, bro. So
are you telling me there's hope? Are you telling me that he might be the chosen one? He might lead us out of this?
Some people were saying he was Go Kushima, who was a guy, I think, from Russia who got banned for match fixing. Because if you go so far down his history, you'll see that he played games in Russia. with Russian players. Well, not in Russia. I'm assuming in Russia, but he was playing with Russian players. If you go to that link and you scroll down and you just look at the dates on the left-hand side, now he hasn't played any games in a couple of days, but if you just scroll and look at the sheer amount of matches that this guy is playing every single fucking day, like, it is insane. Like, just the
I mean, I imagine Face It has something against this, but it can't be like two people at different locations, right?
I don't know, but I think also you'd have to do a deep dive and you'd have to watch some of the demos of him playing in those games and stuff, because the big accusation is that he's cheating. So this is why I bring it up from your part of the world, because I saw some guys having a discourse about wanting to bring him to one of the frag lands to play. And apparently he said he'd go, but then he pulled out and said he had some emergency and had to go to Miami or some shit, but he wants to play later in the year at some other LAN with an OB Elite team. I don't know what any of that means. I guess that's a player. So, like, the thing right now, essentially, the reason I want to kick off with this, because if this guy is legit and he's not just like a European player who's moved to North America and he's playing within North America and he's just like, he's cheating, he's a little bit sus, maybe he's a radar. If he's legit, I would spend the money to get this guy out to the Liquid office to play in an environment where people can sit, like they did with Rops with Face It. Because if he's legit,
I can see what you mean.
Right? And again, I don't want to bash on like North American quality of player and stuff. There's just not as many North American players, so the quality overall is going to be lower than what it would be in Europe, right? I think that's just a reasonable statement to make. I'd say that about any smaller group. I'd say that about Oceania. I'd say that about China. I'd say that about Brazil, right? I think Europe is where the creme de la creme of players are, whether it's the elite or whether... But anyway, this was massive, and people couldn't stop talking about it for a couple of fucking days, mate. So if he's real, America can be saved, Jason.
Then we might actually have it. We might have the dedication that we've been looking for years.
He might not actually be American because he has a Mongolian flag, so...
Yeah, that would be strange. That would be very odd if it turned out that direction.
I mean, it would be almost poetic, right? The best talent to come out of NA in years isn't even an NA talent.
That would be fucked up, wouldn't it?
It would make
of course,
sense.
when I type his nickname in YouTube, the first thing is like already videos from YouTubers. Is he cheating? Number one player cheating. So I don't know. I watched a little bit of this. Of the POV, well, I only got to watch 2 rounds, but it's always edgy, and I think, but a lot of people will say, "Oh, he pulled out of the LAN, he must be cheating." It's like, bro, like it could be a 17-year-old kid, you know, that now people are pushing you, like, "Oh yeah, you need to show up to LAN, you little cheater." Like it actually was the same with Robs, right? And it might just be a I'm not saying anything. It's just the benefit of the doubt, where you can't immediately point fingers and be like, "Oh yeah, cheater," and then abuse him or something along those lines, right? I'm sure if he does want to play Counter-Strike competitively, sooner or later he'll have to compete and come to LANs and everything, and I think we'll see that soon enough.
I'm with you though, Chad. I understand what you mean when it's almost like get him into an environment where you can see what you've got. Because all the greatest players of all time have always started out being accused of cheating. You might as well just get him in there and see if you can get him on like some entry level fucking contract, like some real early contract like that. If it turns out to be legit, that could be a spicy play.
But honestly, this thing is like, I thought when you started talking, Chad, and you were saying, wait, also when you're looking at his Faceit profile, does it give you the time of games in your time zone or in his?
That's a great question, because again, I'm assuming this is when match ended. So first of all, I made that leap. I can verify it right now because I know that Rush was just playing some games on Faceit, so I can see roughly when his last
but you're
game.
in the same time zone as him.
Yeah, I know, but first of all, I want to determine, is it when match ended, right? That timestamp, and then I think you're bang on if the time zone thing. I don't know how to verify that, to be completely honest with you.
Because when you started talking about that, I thought you were going to say he's just like a low priority farmer. You know what I mean? Like he queues when the worst players are queuing, and you know, like starts queuing at 5 a.m. when everyone is dead tired already or whatever, and just farms that way. But then it went into, he's just been playing CS for 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
Which you can't do without, I mean, performance enhancers. What, is he on Adderall the entire time, like playing these Faceit games? Like, how are you awake for 24 hours playing?
Well, you're probably right
maybe
about
he
thing.
Maybe he works odd hours, you know?
Mate,
maybe
you can't be working if you're playing 24 Counter-Strike matches within the span of... Like, honestly, bro.
He's working from home.
This is what I wrote down.
So insane.
He just unmutes himself for 1 minute on the Zoom call. Maybe he's a content creator.
So
maybe he goes to school.
From 6:43 a.m. August 9th, I feel like I'm doing like a criminology report or something, but it's from 6:43 a.m. August 19th until 9:38 a.m. August 20th. The next day, No Cries played 24 Faceit games. Like, and that was just that one thing. I didn't look at like. I'm sure you could look at more recent stuff, and there's probably similar shit in there with it just non-stop playing games. That's all he does is play matches. And I start sitting there and I go, if you're cheating can't be that fun. Like, I don't think that cheating could be so fun that I'd do it for 24 face-it matches a day. Like, isn't that fucking... I don't know. Maybe he would. Maybe he wants to get into FPL and try and make money. Maybe it is this Gokushima guy that people have been talking about, and he's just... I don't know enough about the lore, but it got me interested. This is kind of like my reality TV. You know, like the Desperate Housewives of fucking wherever, you know, or the whatever, that type of shit.
The island.
Yeah, exactly. That's this. This is this for me.
Survivor.
So, yeah.
Bro, I just scrolling through his Faceit page. Actually, it's on the very... When you open the Faceit page, he had a game recently. He had 200 ADR.
Yeah.
That ain't bad.
That 200 ADR
But I mean,
one
Chad is also right. As someone who plays level 10 Faceit at about the 2.3K mark, I think is what I'm at when I've played in FPL. It is like you are missing a lot of ththings that you need in the game of Counter-Strike. A lot of pieces of utility, a lot of intelligent scaling and map control. So, I mean... I don't know. My money's on. It would just be any. I'm going to kill the hype already. I already feel fucking bad about it. But my money would be on someone who's punishing guys not playing good Counter-Strike with frequency, and that usually never translates out of an NA player. Don't get my hopes up. Don't fucking do this to me, you two.
No, look.
Don't try and talk me into some excitement.
I wasn't trying to. It was just one of those buzz things that was happening in your part of the world, right? And with North America, when stuff's going on and there's like, because I'm trying to think, when was the last time a good talent came out of Oceania? And it's pretty sporadic, right? Like Nedic is probably the most recent. Before him, it was Vexite, but it doesn't happen too often. And I wouldn't put like their gameplay on the level of watching this guy in a pug. Like I linked just then in our chat the Lim POV, right? And if you watch that, even if you just watch the first clip, it's from the CT side pistol round or whatever it is.
Yeah, I saw that.
And like, he's just going between, like, it makes it look like deathmatch, bro. Like, you know, and I don't know, his crosshair placement always felt like it was pretty on point. Now, the thing is, he could be cheating. But what type of cheating is he doing? Because I wouldn't say he's radar hacking with with his crosshair placement and the type of shots that he's hitting and everything along those lines. In that lobby, the players had against him 3K, 2.2, 2.7, 2.6, 2.4. That was it, right? Like that's the level. And I haven't played in North America Faceit for a very long time, so I couldn't speak to like what type of level those players would be given. But yeah, it just looked crazy. And then there was something with Cooper where he was playing with Cooper and Austin. He wasn't playing with them, but he was in the pug at the same time as them. And they were talking to him and stuff. And I don't know. I think I'd have to go deeper. But just from what I watched, like, people weren't even saying, you know, what they were doing on the pistol round. If I'm playing a pug at like 3K ELO in EU, occasionally you get some guys who aren't very strong with English who won't like communicate what they're doing. But otherwise, you're going to get players who are like, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'll block this. I feel like I wasn't hearing that in the North American game. So immediately that makes me go, well, what the fuck are you guys even playing? Like, that's not Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike's about working with your teammates, talking who's going to do what. Like, the guys had to work out plays. He's doing it's not an insta. He's leaving CT spawn with crosshair placement to throw a jumping run smoke to block long doors on his own. So no one else has to throw the smoke for him. Now, it didn't look like it landed very well, but either way.
Sometimes, you know, in this side of the world, Chad, you got to learn how to do everything yourself.
Fair enough.
I think it's the language barrier that's really, you know, preventing that team play level from happening
in the US. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. We're speaking a couple of different languages over there, aren't they? Yeah.
Just hate talking to each other.
No, like I just wanted to avoid this being like one of those bashing on North American general players standpoint, because I don't have the knowledge to talk about that, and also I don't know if this guy's cheating or not. I'm just saying that if we can get him to land, I'll help. I'll send some money. I'll send some money to book him a flight to get him where to go.
There's plenty of opportunities.
Either he will be a really cool talent, a la Rops, doesn't have to end up being Rops, but definitely the hottest talent from NA in a while, or he will be a cheater.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like one of the two.
Those are the only two options.
I don't think there's really a middle ground, right? With, you know, what you've been saying, Chad, with how he's been playing and everything. So I guess we'll just wait and see.
Or he's like, or he's this Gokushima guy who was a very good player from Russia who got banned for match fixing.
Or that. Yeah, that is the door number 3.
Which is the mystery door. You don't really know exactly what's behind that door, but you're happy to knock on it and give it a look. Or if any door swings open. But that was one of the things that I took. We got straight into the Counter-Strike today. I feel like Jason did it because he tried to rage bait with the Aurora stuff. and it worked.
I was trying to keep things a little bit light, a little bit fun. I was trying to circle back to a previous joke.
So you started with Aurora.
And, you know, Aurora was quite a headline with the Xantares tweet. I just thought it'd be a fun way to start the show, really. Get the juices flowing.
You know what? You know why both Nico and Xantares are vocal about this? Because they both actually played their best in the last month or two.
Okay.
You know, it felt like they both played much better Counter-Strike at the start of this season than maybe towards the end of last season.
Okay. Interesting.
You know, and I just even checked it in the last 3 months against top 20, you know, between top 20 teams. Xantares is rated 4th and Nico is rated 8th. In terms of, you know, just ranking or rating in the last 3 months, right? EliGE is number 2, by the way.
I definitely
Behind
agree and think that's true and like fair, but like, isn't there also an angle from the other side where it's like, boys, you're playing some of the best Counter-Strike you played in a while now. Why are you letting your mental game get fucking knocked off kilter?
Why is Valve ruining it for me, Jason? That's what they're thinking. I finally found some consistency. I'm playing great. Now they broke the game.
But why is
like,
Fisher
what the fuck is this shit?
not using
if anything,
the old patch?
I don't know, and that's probably something that a TO like FISSURE is where the players can just go and say, "Yo, guys, we want the old patch," and they'll just say, "Yep, no worries."
That's what ESL Blast would do in this situation.
Yeah, we'll get that done for you. And also, I mean, Nico complaining a little bit, bro, isn't it like, you know, if it's more prone to tapping, isn't that good for you? You can just go back to...
Well, Nico wasn't specific. He just said, how can they make the game worse every time? Which is fair, because I've heard some stuff from different people, and I've read some different things, and people are saying that, you know, their inputs stop working, for example, or they're getting like memory leaks and they're getting a lot of frame drops on maps. And these are some people with top-of-the-line computers. Like we were talking about the 7800X3Ds. That's what they have. They have the 4080s, if not better. So they have top-of-the-line PCs, and they're still on maps like Train experiencing some issues along those lines. So definitely some problems have been caused by the most recent updates that we've seen go through. And in the last two, there's been strings of text regarding subtick. Because there were people exploiting subtick behaviors by locking their FPS, and because FPS was locked, they were able to do things that they shouldn't have been able to do. And it feels like the most recent one was trying to combat that. Yeah, but like, this is the thing, right? Obviously, what those people are proving is like, hey, Valve, why is subtick or why are inputs able to be manipulated depending on how many frames I have, right? That like, and that kind of a thought process is like, you go, okay, well, that shouldn't be the case. So how do we fix that? How do we take it away from that? I think Valve are attempting to do that, but I'm not smart enough on that side to know how we would troubleshoot this. And the people who are have only just had this update, and these updates drop within the last 72 hours, essentially, right? So it's going to take some time before that gets troubleshot and we see what's happening. But it obviously is having an impact to the point that the best riflers in the world are going, okay, something feels a little bit wrong right now. And they would, I don't know what specs they're playing on at FISSURE, Yanko. Do you know what specs is going on at FISSURE?
I don't know, but I think...
Pretty good?
It's, pretty good. I don't think the PCs are going to be an issue. No one's complained about that. And in general, people have just been...
Didn't get complaints on PCs the last FISSURE either.
Okay.
Yeah,
so it can't be that. It can't be specs. So I don't know. There has to be something that's causing some of these issues.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like, for competitive play, it should be really straightforward. I mean, there's nothing in this patch. Okay, some of the grenade sounds, I don't think that's a massive deal if you don't play with that. So if you feel like the game has been broken a little bit, just do a rollback and play on the old patch.
The grenades don't really like in terms of that. When you throw the incendiary and the Molotov, now they make a distinct noise, right? In terms of when they're flying through the sky, which will help people identify what the piece of utility. And I think adding that nuance to the game that Valve are doing with even the way that some different weapons or util makes different noises when they're dropped, like all of those things kind of raise the skill ceiling, because how well are you at identifying those noises, et cetera, feels like on the lower scale, but definitely still may have an implication in certain scenarios. I think those things are fine. I think another big one is the JavaScript stuff for like mapping that they added in the second last update. Like, I think that's going to be a really big one, because something that I know that when I was talking to the devs most recent major in Austin, one of the things that I was talking about was like the modding community and how like Counter-Strike essentially built on that. So more tools to be able to help people make more creative game modes and stuff is cool, because to see the creativity of the community is kind of what Counter-Strike's been built on.
Kind of need to pair that one up though with the in-game browser though, don't you?
Well, yeah, but it is in game now. I'm pretty sure, isn't it? Let me have a look. I've got Counter-Strike open right now. I was about to watch a demo, and then I remembered we had this podcast.
Fucking
What demo?
nerd.
I was about to watch Liquid's T-side on Ancient versus Faze. I don't know. Were you casting that one?
No, that was the one game I didn't do that day. I did get to cast Pain versus Pro though, and I owe you an apology, both of you, especially you, Jason. I felt my eyes were bleeding during map 1, and of course somehow Virtus Pro manages to win a map against Pain, which is actually a conviction of Pain more than anything else. So I had to sit through another Virtus Pro T side where they would go on to win 0 rounds, or they somehow won 1 round, and it's just so damn painful to watch, man. It's crazy that a team, with guys like Perfecto, Flit, and Fame is playing like that sort of Counter-Strike. It's mind-boggling to me that the players can't really see they can't be playing like that,
That's been the mystery with these boys forever. I think that the most fun thing here, Jason, for me and Yanko's perspective is what this means for 3D Max. Less about what it means for VP, because I was already out on VP, right? But VP beat 3D Max after they beat the Mongolz in that opening game.
That's what I said after the first map of Pain Virtus Pro. I said, Dinko, that first map makes you wonder, how the hell did 3D Max lose to this? Yeah. Like, it really, you struggle, even Lin Vision. Like, I struggle to see how anyone loses a game to Virtus Pro. One saving grace is, okay, Pain's permaban is Train, and VP was picking that a lot. So maybe Train is not as bad as some of these other maps, and I was being nice on the broadcast. They went through all these changes, Perfecto, IGL, this Toro kid, man. It's
yeah,
also
some good
sad.
games.
No, it's sad watching him play, because they just, I don't know if he plays Anchor on T side or not. Like, I don't know what he played in Academy, but he plays A Mirage on T side, right? He's just like closer to T spawn than he is to the bomb site. Every single round. On Dust 2, he's outside long doors towards mid every single round. Never tries to do anything.
Hey, kid,
never goes anywhere close.
Watch this, don't die.
Yeah, just watch this, don't die. Which
it is just.
And I don't know if it's them telling him, yo, we just need you to not die here and stay alive, don't worry about anything. Or is that's not his role, so he doesn't really
know how to play.
He's unsure what to do, and then just doesn't want to make a mistake, right? But in either case, it's just like very sad to watch that too, right? It felt like maybe just put him in the pack, let him run out, trade people, or run in first, use his mechanics. He had some good rounds, right? And he's not a bot. It's just the approach in some of these positions is like, wow, there's nothing you're not adding any value in this round unless someone but not even pushes some. They have to push all the way for you to
go for the big flank.
Yeah.
All the conversations around like mismanaged teams recently and missed opportunity, like Virtus Pro's got to be up there for one of the worst managed teams. Like they haven't had like a true IGL since Jame left.
Yeah, but this is the thing.
And you've had 4 different coaches, so every time you make a change, you're just starting over, and you've never been able to take a first or second or third step or build a foundation. Every single time, it's just reset. And now you brought Perfecto back after, over a year of not competing, of being on Cloud9's bench. And not only does he have to figure the game out individually, but now he's got the reins as IGL, so you still don't have a proper IGL to this day.
Yeah,
but
it's a mess.
But I'm as the sole defender all the time of Virtus Pro, right? I will say one thing. I don't think there's any... I would be very surprised if anyone at that organization thought this was the team for the future, right? Or the roster for the future. I think maybe it's a little bit like... Not exactly, but let's say G2 at the start of the year, they knew that wasn't going to be the roster, right? Like, they knew they weren't going to stick with Taz and Snacks. They had a good feeling that m0NESY was going to leave soon. So it's very difficult to judge them for those games and those performances when changes are coming. I don't feel like Perfecto is going to be an IGL now, right? I think he's just taking over the role in the short term while they figure everything out. The bigger thing about Virtus Pro is... are Fame and Flit going to want to go back and play with Jame? Can they keep those 2 guys on the team, and while they're searching for an in-game leader, potentially, I don't know, a coach or not, while they're figuring out all the pieces, are they going to be losing anyone to another team? I think that's the main thing about
Thankfully
Virtus
for
Pro.
them,
The worst thing is they were close. I don't know where they are now in terms of the
They're still in it.
VRS.
They're top.
Like, they still have a chance to make a major.
Yeah, they do.
The major.
Yeah. I was just looking at it right now.
Which is wild.
They're ahead of Fnatic, Soar, and Heroic. And those three teams I just mentioned are all currently in the cutoff. That's going to change over the next couple of weeks with all the events that we have going on and this sprint for the finish line. But right now, they're still there. So yeah, I'm out on VP. I've been out on VP for a very long time. So they exceeded my expectations at FISSURE, to be honest, because they won games. I thought they were going to go 0-3. So the fact that they even won games, they were in the final 2-2 matches yesterday, which is better than I thought they would do. But yeah, I don't know. We got you mentioned James. He's playing right now. Well, at least he was.
They won
earlier.
their first game.
Yeah, because StarLadder Star Series Fall 2025 is currently on at the same time, which is only an 8-team event. Wow, it was more, but there was an online qualifier. 4 teams were invited by VRS. Those 4 teams ended up being Na'Vi, NIP, Bait, OG. It's kind of a must-win for Na'Vi in my mind. But regardless, I digress. I was watching some of that Paravision game and looking at some of the names around James. The only one that I remember seeing before was Belchanok, and he's got a bunch of other guys around him, and he's beating Bait 2-0. And it's like, okay, well, him and Dustan reunited. They must be doing something right? They're winning games. So I'm not too big on this this team, really, of VP.
The Virtus Pro team?
Yeah, no one is. It's just whatever. Let's not talk about them anymore.
Yeah, it is actually at the point where I'm like, I actually don't even know what the redeeming quality of the lineup is at this point. I don't know if there's like a core that you can even build off of at this stage. It's fun.
Well, some of the restrictions you have with rosters and stuff are going to cause issues when they do want to try and, if they want to rebuild. Or like Yanko's saying, maybe some of these players want to go somewhere else. But I guess it'll all be a conversation for after the major if they stay online with qualifying. I think there's other like really big news with rosters and stuff going on at the moment. So should we get into?
There's a couple headlines.
Should we get into one of them?
We should get into one of them. Which one would you like to go for?
So this one caused a bit of a kerfuffle, right? The Twistzz being announced mid-tournament, literally after the first match day for Faze and Liquid, that Twistzz would be returning to Faze while still playing in this event for Liquid, while this is the most important event for Liquid to qualify for the major. And then, as it was, of course, they met up in the 2-2 match yesterday to see which team was going to go through. And there was a lot of discourse. People were saying, well, it's not actually in Twistz's best interests for Liquid to win there because there's going to be a certain amount of matches that might need to be played for Liquid, who are also signed up for 2 of these smaller lands in the lead into the major. There hasn't been discussion about who...
Can we focus on that part a little bit really quick before we get into the Counter-Strike of the roster change? Like, there is a very real conflict of interest in that situation.
But they won.
Potential. Right.
I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but the thing is, what people were worried was it would be in Twistz's best interest to not win this game.
Yep.
Right.
I know. Yeah. But I'm thinking of even if you disregard this example, like just that same situation happening down the road is kind of a massive problem and conflict of interest, because there is a world where by losing that game and giving VRS points to the team you are going to join, like that, you just have there's a beneficial incentive to doing it for both you individually and as a team. And when these roster changes in the past have happened, individual matches haven't had a huge impact on overall global race to the major, right? It's usually just been within the event.
Yeah, for sure.
But now that there's that bigger incentive to it, that is actually a conversation probably worth having of how do we avoid this situation?
We can't.
With where the cutoff...
Conversation's over. We'll see you guys later. That was episode 100.
But how? Like, it was announced because the EPL roster locks, it would have gotten out anyway. Even if it's not announced, the players know.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Twistzz will obviously know
his teammates
leaving,
will know.
And his teammates will most likely know. People on Faze would know. So, unless you make it so that there's no transfers whatsoever during the season, and you have to wait for the off-season, and even then, you might know that a move is happening. It just can't happen until the off-season. So you're still not fully avoiding the issue, right? In our current ecosystem, there's just no way other than hoping that people will not be bad actors, because at the end of the day, I know, but at the end of the day, it's Twistz's reputation on the line as a player. If he, half-asses it for Liquid and then goes to FaZe, I mean, that will get out. And that will hurt his reputation as a player and hurt his standing in the, community as well. Might hurt his chances of finding a team, the next day and whatnot. You just have to sort of hope, which I know, yes, it is laughable that, these players can be professional enough about all these situations. And, you're still under contract with Team Liquid for this tournament. You're not getting paid by FaZe. You're not a member of FaZe Clan, even though you will be soon enough. So you need to do your best for Team Liquid at the moment.
Which is what happened, right? Because I agree with you, Jason. This creates an ambiguity that we would all hope doesn't exist, but it does. And I think that maybe there'll have to be some more refinement to the rules, because something to do with this is, you have to discover, why does this become a problem down the line, right? Yours is a little bit more holistic, like these two teams facing each other, the cutoff soon. If this team loses to this team's going to get more VRS points, right? Like that's the baseline. I think there's more in this, though, because FaZe aren't going to play any more tournaments after this event. So FaZe's tournaments, and until the major invite cutoff, will not play any more tournaments, which from my understanding means that Twistzz will not get any stickers when he plays the major for FaZe, because he's as far as I understand, I might be wrong, he would be classified as the substitute because he didn't play any matches on FaZe's roster before the cutoff. So he is not one of the 5 players being invited for FaZe, right? It'd be the players who played the match, which is the current roster. So let's say that there's people have been throwing around different names. So this is the other part of this, right? From my understanding, it is going to be, so EliGE is going to Liquid and Twistzz is going to FaZe, because both FaZe and Liquid don't want to spend much money on Counter-Strike.
Yes. So
they're kind of doing like a straight swap, which normally they would require buyouts and stuff. So they're just doing like a swap of players so that they don't have to spend. Then the question becomes, who on FaZe are they replacing, right? And people would be like, I've seen the community throw around essentially every name other than Brokey. Frozen's been in the conversation because of a link to Na'Vi. Rain's been in the conversation because he's the oldest who's not Karrigan. Karrigan's been in the conversation because Twistzz did some in-game leading on Liquid recently. Jacob's been in the conversation because he's the most recent addition to the team and he's the youngest. So
what do you think is going to happen?
I am under the impression...
Or what do you think they should do?
So let's assume... Or what do I think they should do? Well, that's interesting. Okay, that's a different question.
Ooh, that is spicy.
Oh, okay. Well, I just want to say that if this Liquid thing, let's say, because we didn't tie up that conversation, if Liquid decide to not now play in these smaller events, which would mean that they're in a position where they could sacrifice points, which would have them drop down and then potentially drop out of the race if they go and they lose games to bad teams, right? Or teams below them. Yeah. So it would potentially be in Liquid's best interest to not go in those events, which then would mean that Liquid's invitation to the roster would be with the 5 players, including Twistzz right now. So then Twistzz might be stuck in a position where he has to play for Liquid for the major, and FaZe won't be able to add him, so they just have to play with their current roster too. So essentially, like, Liquid and FaZe, even though they could be making this trade in the future, could just be locked into these rosters right now.
That's an eventuality that I had no concept was even possible. You're saying that because of the way the rosters work, Faze not playing a game and will not have played a game with Twistzz, he's not going to be eligible for stickers. But if Liquid decide not to play the small event because it would risk VRS points, they won't actually play a game with EliGE, who's on FaZe's starting roster, so he wouldn't be able to play for Liquid at the major? So then you've kind of made this trade, but you can't do anything.
EliGE could play for Liquid.
Just won't get sticker money.
Yes, and then like they could not use Twistzz, and then Twistzz could just get stuck on the bench, but FaZe won't be able to use Twistzz because Twistzz is on Liquid's roster.
Will Twistzz... Now this is going to get complicated, but let's get fucking freaky. Will Twistzz get Liquid
sticker money
while playing with FaZe, and EliGE will get FaZe sticker money while playing with Liquid?
No, EliGE won't get any sticker money because EliGE isn't recorded in like the last 5 matches for FaZe qualifying for the major. Jacob is. I
Oh
think
my
I might be off. I
lord.
wish I had Striker right now, but he went on fucking holidays.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
been able to like run everything by
Yeah,
him.
you
Like
don't
I
have,
normally
fucking
do.
ass.
don't have the
Asshole.
inside man. I know it's really selfish of him actually
Yeah.
going on vacation when we're recording a podcast.
So I don't know like how accurate all of this is, but I do know it's messy, right? I do know it's messy.
It is messy.
and could get messier. So,
Yeah, and
All right.
I mean,
so should
well,
we get Messi or so on the phone?
well, also to show off like how messy it is a little bit. Like what was it? 2 episodes ago, I came on and said the EliGE for Twistzz deal had never even been considered and was in no way a possibility, which, just for what it's worth, 100% accurate at the time.
At the time, yeah.
And then, at the time, and then we got into a position where all of a sudden this thing had to get pulled off quickly with the different roster implications and everything like that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess let's get into the Counter-Strike. What do you make of it? I mean, the Twistzz leaving Liquid, watching Liquid go on this run, dead team buff, maybe with the pressure off, realizing some of the potential that's always been there. On one sense, I think it's disappointing because I feel like this Liquid roster never got to show how good they could have been. They had plenty of opportunities. They just never actually did it. And I also don't know if this fixes Faze in any significant sense. Makes him better.
I don't know if it fixes Faze either. I think that the Liquid one is probably the biggest shame, but it always feels like they've been like shackled or dragged back by something the entire time since Twistzz reunited, right? Obviously, we started with the Kumbaya Arcadian stuff, and that turned out to all be a bit of a ruse where it turned out people were not happy with one another within the team. And then it's kind of morphed from there, right? Twistzz took the in-game leadership reins. That didn't work out. Then they have to get rid of Justin or Naf to bring an in-game leader in. Then they do that, and then it doesn't feel like things are fixed. I will say Naf's been playing much better. It looks like he's found his confidence again as an individual. Maybe he had that mindset switch of like, I don't give a fuck anymore, and I'm going to now push and look for fights. He's no longer playing like a scared player. He's playing like a player who wants to actually be in the server, that's a really positive change.
It's a nice change, yeah.
I just think it's a shame that like Twistzz obviously feels that there's no future for this roster, which is a shame because Flashy's only just gotten there, and I think he's the piece that would probably start pushing him in the right direction. But
that's the weirdest part for me too, is because it's like, I feel like, I mean, and I try not to be super critical about Twistz's decision because he's doing what he thinks is right, and I haven't spoken to him about all this kind of stuff, but it feels like to come the way you did from Faze to join this Team Liquid team who put together that kind of Cadian lineup, but then kind of showed that they want to build a contending team again. I feel like we just got to the point where finally you brought in a top rifler, a top potential rifler in Nerds. You brought in a top potential IGL. You brought in a brand new coach that's got a lot of good potential, who's got experience that everyone's enjoying. Like, it feels like this is the moment that you've been building to for like the past year and a half, 2 years. And right when it gets to that point, it's like, peace, I'm out.
I think Twistzz is just spoiled, to be honest, a little bit. I think in the sense of he's gotten his way in his career a lot and never had to no one ever told him, or he never had to like push through something that he didn't like or enjoy just because that's how it works, right? Like he was on Liquid had success, and he didn't like it there anymore. He wanted a bigger role. Okay, here you go to FaZe Clan, another great team, great players, right? They go on a great run. He feels a little bit unwanted. They don't reach out to him to renew his contract. Liquid comes knocking. All right, exciting opportunity to reunite with the organization, some people there. But, you know, it gets to a rough start. He obviously disagrees with Cadian. Pretty much everyone does. Like, that goes in shambles. And he's like, screw this guy. You know, I'm going to in-game lead. Then he does. Then it doesn't work out. And it's like, all right, like, let's get a fucking proper in-game leader. Let's do that. Let's build a team. You know, that happens not really to his liking. It's rough out there. All of a sudden, you're behind in the VRS. You're not contending. Like, it's difficult. You know, it's a process. It takes time. You need to, you know, commit to it, grind it out. But he wasn't, you know, willing to do that. He's just like, yeah, I'm out. You know, there was, we heard like rumblings about Twistzz wanting to leave Liquid 6 months after he joined the organization.
Yeah,
you know,
after the
he was
Cadian
unhappy,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
you know, when like Vitality maybe was asking about him, I don't remember exactly, but in general, it's just like a lot of it is, oh yeah, first sign of, not maybe first sign, but you know, when you see, oh, this is gonna take like a while, you know, for us to figure this out. This isn't going to be smooth sailing, and then immediately he's unhappy and he's looking elsewhere, right? And he got his way one more time. I mean, Liquid wasn't initially going to let him go despite his unhappiness.
They tried to avoid this eventuality every step of the way. Did everything they could.
But that's the problem with, Liquid and a little bit how the CS division is being run by the organization. A little bit is like Twistzz is not at the start of his career anymore. As I said, he's been able to get away with this multiple times, and that just what he's done yet again. Now just thinking, all right, just get me back to Carrigan as the IGL, and some of the boys, right, Rain, Brokey, whatever, and let's just I should have never left. Basically, he hasn't won a trophy since he left FaZe Clan. Not that it's been much better for FaZe in that department. I mean, yeah, at the start of CS2, but in general, it's been a rough period for them. And I guess for me, because it's like, okay, Twistzz is coming, but they haven't said who he is replacing, I think I have a hard time. I know there's a lot of rumblings about Rain being the guy, but I think what they should do is bench Jacob and try to, have one last run at this major. What? Yeah, I think that because it's basically the 2022. It's just Frozen instead of Robs, right? And that's the team that they have. And I think they can try and running back like for the remainder of the season. It's just 2 months, guys. It's like 3 months.
I know, but you're going to have to recompute a lot of things, right? Because, right, like EliGE took a lot of Rain's space.
Yeah, Rain is able to like go back to anything. He's able to do whatever.
But Frozen doesn't play hard anchor spots like Rops does.
I know, but
you you would need him because you need Twistzz to be a Frozen type player.
I'm just saying, is like if you remove Rain or even worse, Frozen goes to Navi and then you're doing that change. I mean, it is a reality with like Rain and Carrigan. How long,
how many years do they have?
Have Rain on the roster or Carrigan as an IG? I think also, I'll get into this a little bit later. My point was just this: if you do that and bench Jacob for the remainder of the season, you see what you have, right? And then at the end of the season, you're like, all right, we can't like keep Rain anymore. Maybe it's time for Carrigan to move on to coaching. You definitely bring Jacob back at that point, unless you're somehow the #1 team in the world and you've been winning everything. But you bring him back at that point, and then you see how you want the team to look like for the longer term.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. And that's why also, I mean, for me, when it comes to Carrigan, I know people are not talking about this streak or how many consecutive events with a negative KD. I think that's one of the examples of people like looking at stats for no reason whatsoever. It's like, is Carrigan an incredible individual player? Is he a fragging IGL? No, he's not. Can he pop off here and there? Yeah, he can. Is he good enough on an individual level to lead a team that can be the best in the world? I think he is. And if the answer to that question is yes, how many fucking tournaments he has with negative KD doesn't matter because the win condition for a Carrigan-led team isn't him fucking fragging. Of course, he can't be an absolute bot and be a liability on a consistent basis, right? But what he lacks in frags, he makes up in his leadership and calling and putting all the pieces together and making it work.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. And I also think if you're FaZe, right, it's just tough because FaZe are under a lot of scrutiny at the moment now of like there's no future planning, right? You bring Brokey back and it's the same old Brokey, right? Like it's the guy who's going to thrive within the chaos and he'll give you that crazy 3K, but he's not fitting the bill of being like a standard AWPer. So if FaZe want to continue to function in the form that EliGE's introduction to the team diluted, right? They couldn't be that chaotic. If they want, then yeah, I think go with Yanko's angle, right? Like how many years left does Carrigan have? I guess I've said the same thing about Fallen, and now Fallen's back on the rifle looking fucking hot, right? So maybe it's not a fair comparison because it's not like Carrigan's going to start AWPing in-game leading or just start being an entry fragger player. Like he's always going to be the in-game leader of the team. But I think that if they're looking to future-proof, then, right, this is why I think a lot of people just think, yeah, it's going to be Rain because he is the oldest member besides for Carrigan on the team. But the addition of Twistzz, I don't think elevates them to a title contending team.
I also don't think it really does as much as we might think it does in terms of future-proofing when you consider part of the issue of their future-proofing attempt is that one of the people they have to future-proof against is one of the greatest of all-time in-game leaders, and you have no one that you're bringing into the team. Even if Twistzz comes in for Rain, I'm not going to sit there and say Twistzz did good enough as an IGL to be like, you have that leadership replacement, right?
Yeah, but I don't...
Like, the problem still comes into the fact that the brain and the heart of the team might be gone soon. Like, Yanko, you said the question is Kerrigan good enough to lead a team in Tier 1 Counter-Strike? The answer is yes, but there's actually, like, you know, a 1A, which is yes, but for how much longer?
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's where I'm like, this team. I don't think this team can future-proof itself. I think this team is just hurling towards a fucking cliff.
I think you definitely have a scenario in which Kerrigan keeps playing for a while longer, and then he moves to coach, and Twistzz takes over IGL.
I see that,
right?
Yeah.
And then Kerrigan is his coach, who was his IGL when he was playing, and can really help him with stuff and sort of help him a little bit, maybe with the leadership side of things and how to manage. Like expectations, energy levels, how to maybe not be too intense at times, how to handle all those things that also Kerrigan had to learn over the course of a 20-year career, right?
Sure.
And having a young piece there in Brokey and Jacob, it's so crazy. We're talking about FaZe Clan. You have Twistzz, Rops, and Brokey. You're future-proof then.
Yeah.
But they just let those guys walk on free transfers, right? Just absolute mismanagement in terms of the roster. So that's the problem. But you have that now. If Kerrigan wants to go into coaching and if that's his next step after he's done playing, right? But there are things that FaZe can do, right, for the future where some things make sense if everyone agrees with it. If does Twistzz want to go back to IGLing, at the time when Kerrigan wants to go into coaching, maybe he doesn't want to do that for another 5 years after the
why would you make this move though if you are FaZe, right? I think that you must make the move with something like that in mind. Like the solution can't be, we're having problems, let's bring Twistzz back. Like that can't be the base level thought process. I think that the thought process.
Why not? Why not?
How much is he going to elevate the team? Like, he's a good player, right? But how much is he going to elevate the team, especially with the style that they play? There's no consistency in the style that they play, right? Everybody has to be on point for them to be the best. The structure that they're built upon is Kerrigan's mind. And if Kerrigan is like, this is the big thing I had with the EliGE situation, was obviously EliGE was a disruptor within that space, right? And right, I think EliGE is a very good player, but they didn't work together, right? And when that happens over time, this happens with all Counter-Strike teams that are struggling. Like, a resentment builds between people and players because there's expectation and things aren't being met, or mistakes, or way that they're talking to each other, or they think this guy's baiting, and then the conversations start on Steam friends, or we're at an event when you're rooming with a guy or whatever, and that's where like resentment builds. And once that happens, you can't put that genie back in the bottle. It's very hard. You need confidence building wins or something to break down that barrier to get everybody back on the same team. Not wearing the same jersey, but literally mentally being on the same team and believing in one another. And I think that obviously broke down in the EliGE era. Bringing Twistzz back, he's already indoctrinated in the Kerrigan school of thought. And I think that's probably one of the reasons he wants to leave Liquid, is because that resentment that I was just discussing probably exists within that team among the players.
Absolutely.
Right?
Sure.
So I get it for Twistzz, but I don't get it overall, unless the thought from FaZe is, we want Twistzz to in-game lead in the future.
I actually kind of don't get it from Twistzz POV, to be honest with you. Because, like, what's the story? Like, he was getting so frustrated and so much built up resentment and so much anger at the Liquid project not progressing that he's going to the struggle-infested FaZe to try and go through the same process of dealing with the issues that they've had and getting back to the top. Like, he's entering the same scenario.
Kerrigan, though, doesn't it? Right? Like, I think that shows you the allure of Mr. Finn Anderson.
It also shows you that it wasn't like, I mean, I feel like it also goes to show you that the transfer was kind of instigated by frayed relationships more than any kind of Counter-Strike. The Counter-Strike might have been on the surface level, but deep down beneath, I don't think it was the Counter-Strike that made this change happen in any way.
Look, when I look at the Liquid profile, I don't think Nertz is the player that people think he is. And I don't mean in terms of output. I think when they look at, like, quote-unquote aggression, right? I think that EliGE will be the soldier that is going to, have the entry pathing and do all that. Like, Nertz will run through some smokes when you try and do like an opening on a round, and he'll take that space, but he turns into the mid to late round lurker. He doesn't turn into the guy who's going to continue to entry you into a bomb site and you're going to be executing behind him. EliGE is that guy. So I think Twistzz and like Nertz kind of fulfilled a similar role within Liquid. So by bringing in EliGE, now you're going to have EliGE alongside of Shui as your kind of entry pack, right? And then you're going to have Nertz and you're going to have Naf. Naf can be your more passive anchor, and Nertz can be your more active anchor or lurk, however you want to frame it. And I think that complexion of players is going to work out better than the current iteration. Whereas for FaZe, I have a hard time seeing how it gets pieced together, because from my understanding, it's Rain who is getting replaced, right? That's what I have heard in the backline.
That's to my understanding as well.
But I also hope that isn't the case, right? And it's not because I have anything against this Jacob kid. I don't think we've seen enough of him to be able to make a real succinct idea of what type of player he's going to be in the future. But he's obviously not it out the gate.
That's also the thing, right? I think that's a very good point. If he were some sort of a mind-blowing
phenom,
superstar, okay, there's no way we can bench this guy, right? And when I say bench him and keep praying, I mean with that in mind, that he's going to be back on the lineup starting next year, right? It's just figuring out which pieces you can keep for the long term for FaZe Clan, right? And it would be also surprising to me to see with how long Kerrigan and Rain have played together, and you know, Kerrigan's is my boy Rain and all that stuff, to really bench him mid-season, you know, before the major. Like, that's kind of a shitty thing to do to Rain, who was always a soldier, I mean, for FaZe Clan. And, you know, with the whole EliGE situation, he changes positions, then he changes positions again, and keeps doing it, and keeps, like, adapting himself. And then for him to get the short end of the stick, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I'm with you. I agree with you to an extent, but I also, I mean, let's wait until the details come out, because this could be instigated by Rain. This could be Rain saying, I've just had a second kid. Yanko, you're a relatively new father. I'm a relatively new father. One's pretty tough. You add a professional player schedule to it, not a broadcasting schedule to it, and then you add a second kid into it.
What, you're saying he's going to retire?
Retire, go join a team that doesn't have as busy of a travel schedule. Light retirement, go make a few more paychecks.
Rain doesn't strike me as the type of guy.
He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy.
Online Counter-Strike by any stretch of the imagination.
But Rain strikes me as the kind of guy who would raise his hand and say, "I don't have the ability to do this anymore."
I don't know, bro. I reckon Rain would keep going as long as he could. And I know that we have a lot of stat cells in our Discord, so there is a lot of anti-Rain propaganda being pushed with colorful numbers. But in terms of the player that he is and what he's still offering today, I think as far as team Counter-Strike goes, he's a very important piece.
He's like the modern day Olaf, where I think like he has like the credit from his career in the past of when he was extremely skilled, and now he's turned into that player that is just so good at being a teammate and a player inside the server that the things he does that are so good are somewhat unnoticeable. Like, he is just a presence in the team that makes everyone better for whatever reason. Super important. And honestly, I think, you know, if I'm FaZe, as crazy as it sounds, I don't think Yanko's necessarily wrong at all. Like, I think if you talk to FaZe and you say, what is the best 5-man lineup that you can make with these 6 players to get you as deep into the major as possible, it's Twistzz coming in for Jacob and going one last run with all the experience.
Do you think there's any validity behind the Frozen stuff? Like, someone was like, "Oh, look, Blade followed Frozen on Instagram. I don't know how recent this thing is." Blah blah blah.
I'm not listening to anything about Blade's Instagram following somebody after he's posted 10 pictures of trophies and that's it. It's like, I'm not gonna say his Instagram is a hotbed of activity.
Yeah, because I just think about the Frozen change, right? He's considered one of the most important pieces on the FaZe roster. But let's say that he was going, and then you bring Twistzz in. Like, Twistzz can fulfill the same roles as what Frozen does, right? Like that feels like, in terms of if you were just to look at the teams right now. And I'm not saying that's the choice that they're making, but that makes the most like sense player profile wise in my mind. So I don't know. Like I said, what I've heard, what I understand is Rain is the one who is getting replaced. Jason threw an interesting spanner in the works of my logic with what if it is his choice? If it is his choice, that means it's that he's like, I don't know, bro. Like, wouldn't you just play out the season? Why would you say like, oh yeah, right now it's like in the middle of the season, you just decide after you had a break, 2 months ago, And you're just going, oh, yeah, I think I'm just going to retire. Like, what would... maybe there's some... I don't know. I don't want to speculate about, like, family and health and shit like that.
That's the thing. Like, that's the hard part about it is I just don't know. But, I mean, if we take the family out of the equation and just try and speculate, maybe it's something that they kind of targeted for after the major, after the second cycle, and it's just been sped up for whatever reason.
I just... I fucking hate that FaZe, Liquid, and Game EliGE all made a roster change during an event that I was fucking amped for. Like, I get it, Kersey not passing the tests, right, in terms of his output. They want to try somebody new. They're getting this Hypex kid. But, like, Liquid and FaZe, it's like, boys, you could have done this fucking months ago. Like, why are we doing this now? Like, what the fuck are we doing? And FISSURE was going to be super exciting for all of those different reasons. And then it just puts a cloud over those three teams. So then wins that teams who are legit teams get against these teams. I'm like, well, what the fuck do they even mean, man? Like, it's shit.
I don't have that feeling as much because neither of these teams would have gone on to win the event, I don't think. Right? Like, they've all had struggles, even if there were no changes. Like,
Liquid might just go win it.
Yeah, but they're in the conversation of cusp of playoffs, right, Yanko? And then you have FaZe versus Liquid as the 2-2 game, right? It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, they are, but one of those three teams made it, right? And the other two were in the 2-2 bracket.
Sure. Yeah, but watching the Astralis like Game EliGE game, like, it just leaves a disgusting taste in my mouth. Like, was the first half on Overpass was like 8-4, 9-3?
9-3 or 8-4.
Yeah, something like that.
9-3, I think.
And it's like, I was listening and you were talking about Ash taking a lot of timeouts, getting frustrated with him. But you know that the players, like, in that point, as soon as things start going the wrong way, I know they're competitors, I know they want to win, but it's so much easier to mentally check out when you're like, well, this fucking bum next to us, he's not going to be in the team, so I don't have to fucking... Some of the plays that the players make as well is different.
But that's the same team that a day before played a really close series against G2.
It's true.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't think I think I talked about it at some point saying, I don't think it's going to affect them like too much because they don't have the luxury of not trying their hardest in games. If you're Game EliGE, because you're still, I mean, obviously you need the wins, you need the points, but you're still, every game is figuring it out, getting more experience for some of these young guys, right, on different maps against different opposition. And sure, you're changing your upper, but you already did that 3 months ago. So it's just, you know, a little bit deja vu for them.
They smoked Liquid as well, which is when I thought Liquid had just quit. I was like, come on, boys. Like, don't embarrass yourselves like this. Like, the day after the announcement of Twistzz leaving, you just get 13-1, 13-6 by Game EliGE. And I was like, oh, fuck, come on. Have some pride. Have some pride. And then they brought it back. So we're all good.
Yeah, and the problem with Game EliGE is they can play, like, good CS for 80-85% of the game. But the 15% where they fuck up, it's like...
It's damning.
Some of the key moments. It can be against a force buy. It can be in a 4v2. It can be in a clutch, right? Like where they just need to sort of, you know, they've done the heavy lifting perhaps, and then they just need to finish it off, and they can't do it, which has been the theme for a little bit. So you wonder if that last piece and some of the added firepower can help them get over that hump.
Can we hit the EliGE angle a little bit harder? Because like this one's interesting to me, and I'm interested in your perspective since I've coached him, and I certainly have some of my perspectives are probably a little bit. Well, yours will be unencumbered, let's say. So just out of curiosity, I mean, because it's like weird. Like when he left the Liquid roster originally, I was kind of like, okay, so Liquid now gets to move into the future for the first time as an organization in Counter-Strike without EliGE in this team, and they get to go, you know, build a roster and find a new star player that can take them into the future.
Failed
and then
miserably.
Begrudgingly, like 3 weeks later, it was kind of like watching this team. You know what they're really missing is an aggressive playmaker. You know, so it always felt like EliGE was going to come back and fit the bill, but. For me, when I think about this move from Team Liquid's perspective, they obviously didn't want to do it. They wanted to keep Twistzz. That didn't work. EliGE now probably coming back into this roster. I'm trying to figure out if this is a good long-term play, or I think it's the best short-term play they have for the major.
You don't have to
for
spend
sure.
any money, right? It's just a straight.
And you don't have to spend
swap.
any money. But if you're Liquid right now, are you thinking of EliGE as a long-term solution in the team? Or are you sitting there and being like, we already went through 8, 9, 10 years of playing with EliGE. We know the positives and negatives. We know the way he's made us crumble. We know the ways he's helped us succeed. Do we want to go down this road again?
It's what I'm saying about this flashy thing. I've mentioned it a couple times in the last couple of podcasts I've done. Like, I think that this is now where the core decision making will come from within this team. Liquid will never again give the keys to the castle to a player to be dictating the roster changes. If somebody has a tantrum and they don't want to play, then just fucking bench the cunt. Have it as flashy as your guy to be driving you forward who's going to make these choices. So in terms of the EliGE angle, EliGE fits what I think that they need at the moment, and then you just continue to change things. Your goal as Liquid is just to qualify for the major, and then once you get your feet under you and you have a stable base, and then you are considered a top 15 team in the world on a consistent basis, then at that point you're able to consider your options, weigh things up, and maybe it's enticing for players to come to you again. Liquid don't have money to spend at the moment. We know that. It's the same as a lot of other teams. So they're not really in a position where they can be too choosy. Like maybe if they could go, oh, let's buy PR from Gamer Legion, for example, who actually had a bit of a tough time this event, didn't he? But that's a sidebar. Like maybe if they wanted to grab some younger, fresher talent, they're going to have to pay for that. At least they don't have to pay for, and he can fit in, and it's going to give them what they need. So is it a good long-term decision from Liquid? No, but what they need is this like punch up in the short term. Right now they're in the bubble. Right, these 2 wins put them at like 12th or 11th by the VRS or something along those lines within Europe. So they will qualify for the major. Obviously pending the decisions they make going forward, and then pending if they play these smaller events, is even if EliGE can play or not. So we're not going to hear about that. I guess for a couple weeks, right? It's going to be dribs and drabs of information coming out unless Liquid make a statement about it or something. But yeah, I think like what's John now? 28.
Yeah, something around there.
So if you can milk a couple of other good years out of him, right?
GPT.
And his output's good, boys. His output's good.
Yeah, no, it's great. His output's incredible.
You've talked about this. I mean, there's no doubt the guy can play. It's like, can he mesh with the rest of the team? Like, can they see the game the same way? We saw that despite great individual performances for FaZe Clan, like, that still wasn't enough for him to, they still wanted to remove him, right? Like, so that's the question, do they see the game the same way? And how would he mesh with the rest of the players? If he can mesh well, yeah, short term, no problem, like no whatever. Great addition if it's that, but for the long term, that's gonna matter more than does the role fit and the position fit. It's more, does the person fit the rest of the team?
Yeah, but I think that's not going to be so much of a like. So the only person with baggage and history in the roster with EliGE is NAF, right? Nobody else in the team has that. So when you look at it from that perspective, if it's not going to bother NAF, which I don't know, it might bother NAF. I don't know. Then it's a fresh start for everybody, right? Like Joker Steve and the organization, they'll be aware of some of the pitfalls that existed in the past. And I don't think that the way that this team is going to function is going to be so dependent on the vibes, like I feel it is for FaZe. Like I know vibes are important, but I don't think it's going to be as integral.
So for me, it's like this EliGE move, and I got to try and find a way to say this without going too crazy.
Go crazy, Jason.
EliGE his output inside the server is incredible, but EliGE is one of those players where there are times where his attitude and his mentality can have a net negative impact on the team, despite how much production he's giving them inside the server. And that's what I would be most concerned about with him coming back into this team, is like, we know he's going to be good inside the server, but at what point do those issues start creeping their head up? And that's always, it's kind of like held my head back when I've said like EliGE should be perfect for this team, but I don't want him to join. It's because I feel like I know there's going to be a point where those issues become a hurdle they can't overcome again. And I think part of the reason my fears are kind of assuaged in this situation, and I don't think this is super well known, is him and Flashly actually have a pretty decent relationship that's already established. They apparently have a relationship from chatting at events for a while now, of just kind of exchanging ideas on CS and meeting up and just kind of talking theory and talking shop, and that just kind of one-on-one relationship that they've had around Counter-Strike.
I know I'm an introvert loner who likes to stick to myself and hates everybody else in the world, but isn't that weird?
Wwhy?
Like,
I wouldn't say.
How are you like?
I wouldn't say weird, but I know what you mean.
Like, how's that even like? What?
Yeah, how did they? Well, so let me think. I don't know the story, but if I had to guess, give me a second here.
You can have a second, Jason. We'll give you a second, Matt, because like they're at events, right? And they're obviously going to see each other.
Okay, I got you. I know exactly how it happened.
Okay.
Flashy, before being the assistant coach to Blade at Navi, was the coach of CLG Red and FlyQuest Red. So he's been coaching EliGE's girlfriend, for partner, I should say. I don't know.
You don't know what they go under, Jason.
I don't know what word they prefer. Let's go with partner.
Don't assume their relationship status.
So that is the connection there where Flashy, because John always used to obviously help her team out too with some ideas, some concepts, give them like, hey, they were having trouble with this kind of a thing in our scrims. Here, try this out, talk to your team, blah, blah, blah. So I think that's probably how that connection to him and Flashy began, was that team and them exchanging thoughts, and that just continuing over years.
So to answer my question, not weird. Just to put myself back in my box, not weird.
If we take away the experience of coaching his partner, it probably would have been a little bit weird. I think you were onto something.
Okay,
there, so
nice.
don't beat yourself up. Yeah.
Keep the conversation going. I just need to quickly take a yoga mat that I have here. I'm going to give it to Hugo. Sure. So he's going to be popping by in a second. All right. So I'll be back in a moment.
As you do, fucking the Maltese connection over there. But yeah, that's kind of that's one thing that I have that assuages my kind of mind with that kind of danger area, because you have a coach that John respects his ideas about Counter-Strike. You have a coach that John's already had plenty of conversations with about Counter-Strike. You would assume that they've been able to find some common ground, especially if this move is happening. They would have talked. Flashy, I would imagine, would be on top of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we say often,
pushing
and
for
it
it
somehow
even.
Doesn't work out. But what also makes some sense is people have been talking about EliGE in connection to Navi, where here comes Flashy, who was the assistant coach to Blade and spent a long time in Navi. So you imagine the way he sees Counter-Strike is going to emulate a lot the way Blade and Navi approached it. I'm not saying one for one, but you imagine there's going to be similarities and structure, right? It's going to be structured, which is what EliGE likes too. So maybe not Navi for EliGE, but a Navi apprentice behind the wheel of Team Liquid is, another way for him to get to a team that suits him better than FaZe Clan did.
And I think honestly, I think it does make this team a little bit more interesting, where it feels like you've had some players like Nertz, Ultimate, and Naf who feels like they have more to offer but can't realize it because there's no one instigating those opportunities for him in the team. Like that's exactly what EliGE wants to do. He's a player that I watch. I would like to see him get stuck in less. That guy does not very often find a play he doesn't want to make. And sometimes I'm like, take your time. Better one's going to come. But he's going to make people move. And if his production keeps up with it as well coming into this team, I think the other thing too is like, I would wonder if, because he just spent, a year in Complexity, year and a half in Complexity, and then a disappointing time in FaZe as well, if maybe this is the perfect time for his mentality to be in a position to where he's going to come into this team and just be a big fucking sick member of the roster. That could be sweet.
Yeah,
but that's the trap, isn't it? That's the trap.
It's like how it's on one side. What do you believe? Do you believe that people can change, or do they at their core stay the same? Right? Because that's like
we got deep now.
Well, I know, but that's essentially what we're talking about. Like, can you eventually grow enough that you can grow out of your ways and sort of understand, change in a significant way, or is it just the way you are, just the way you are? Sure, some small changes and adjustments keep happening, but the core of who you are doesn't change. And I don't even think I don't think EliGE is like some massive dickhead that it's impossible to play with. I just think it's like he has his way of seeing things and the way he likes to do things and likes to play the game, where it's like he can't function otherwise, or it will be miserable for everyone else on that team if they're not on the same page. So I think like if he gets into a good situation for himself when it comes to that, can be fine.
That's why the Flashy angle gives me a little bit of confidence. But you're right, but those players, Yanko. Like if you're if you are on a team with a player like that, and there's no compromise going in the other direction, and all the compromise is coming from you, again, it's just a matter of time before that resentment builds up, right? And that's always what happens in these teams.
I think the problem is also there's so much talent out there, right? That you don't have to have those guys anymore. Right? Like, for me personally, I get it for FaZe Clan, but if I was anyone else, I would avoid Twistzz, because I've seen, like, if things get rough, he wants out, right? Why do I want a guy like that on my team? Inevitably, things sooner or later will get rough for any team, right? In the history of Counter-Strike. So I'm like, yeah, I mean, he's a great player. Lots of upside with him. Could be an in-game leader one day if he wants to, blah, 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 blah. They have a lot of other guys who can do all those things as well. Sure, some are maybe not as good or not as experienced or don't want to be an IGL, but they will, do what they're told every day, right? Like they'll try their best, and they won't
rock the boat
to leave the team. Yeah, they won't like leave on the first sign of things getting rough. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I'm making a point.
It's an interesting angle though, Yanko, because I remember back in the olden days, we would always discuss like the value of a player with experience, right? Like that was something that we would always would tout a lot. But then seeing the donks and the monacies, et cetera, coming through and being able to have high individual output against the quote unquote experienced players feels like it's shifted the goalposts of that narrative a little bit. Like obviously it's still important. Like we see with some guys when they go to these lands, they don't understand that they don't have internet access, right? We saw that with like a heroic recently, for example, right? So obviously there's a point of the experience that is just going to make you more comfortable in the environment. But a lot of these players who transition across from like a tier 3, tier 2 team who play mainly online to LAN, right? We don't use the label as much, but I guess we're framing it more with the term pressure these days. Like how do they handle the pressure? But essentially we would just throw that away back in the day when they were onliners, right? Like, because unless they were cheating, right, they definitely can do it just in an environment that's more controlled and they're more comfortable with. And now you're saying, okay, there's a lot of players out there who, are going to fit the bill and you could pick them up instead of rehashing players who have shown to maybe, like you said, jump ship or one off when things get a little bit rocky. So it's interesting to see how this narrative has kind of evolved over the years.
Yeah, but I don't mean necessarily can be a young up-and-coming player. It can be another player that's been around, again, maybe not as much as Twistzz or maybe not as good of a player, but it's like similar enough where you don't need to deal with that anymore, right? And also the times have changed. It feels like, people are a lot more professional. You have a lot of these new players coming through academy rosters where they are dealing with structure from their first experience with a competitive Counter-Strike. They have a coach, they have an analyst or a performance coach or someone who's like working with them on an individual basis, on a team basis. They go to LANs, boot camps together, like they work on team building, it's different than how it used to be before. Like they are drilled a little bit more than players used to be, and that's why you see a team like Mongolz, and whenever you hear them talk, it's always like supportive of each other. Like even when players are struggling individually, they got each other's back, right? You have that sense of unity, which is probably one of the reasons why they've been as good as they have. When you look at on paper, perhaps they shouldn't have had all the results in the deep runs, right? But that's what makes them strong. The unity and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I think you talk about Twistzz and all these qualities. I mean, I'll tell you a player that has all of them that you wouldn't think about in the same vein, that you could definitely at any point in the two's careers could have gotten him for less and would have been better for your team.
JKS.
Hunter.
Why did you say JKS, Jason?
But you see what G2 is doing with Hunter. He's IGLing now, doing great. Everyone will tell you he's one of the nicest guys you ever meet. Great guy for the team. Is he mechanically as skilled as Twistzz? Probably not. Is he good enough on individual? Is he playing good enough now as an individual where that doesn't matter? Yeah, absolutely. And probably could come up with a couple of other names in a similar vein. Again, no one is that exact guy, but it's just when it comes to building your team, everyone wants what Mongolz has or Vitality has or what it's looking like G2 will have, to have a team of 5 guys that get along really well. No one is taking over the team. Everyone's willing to work hard, at least for now. Granted, it's perhaps a little bit of a honeymoon for G2, but, not really much reason to believe that things will change in that department. But that's not easy. You have to make that trade-off where that's going to be your priority rather than maybe getting a star player or getting someone who's a known quantity name, right? And take a risk on someone like Mattis, perhaps, or Heavy God or Malms.
I mean, those are always only like moments in time, though, right? For teams where all 5 players have those kind of goals and mindsets, like kind of mesh together. That's always just like a moment in time when you're able to get that kind of connection. I mean, because we saw the same thing. This is a conversation we had about Navi last year, right? Is like, yeah, at some point, someone's going to become a star. It only lasts so long before every team, if you're having success, is going to have a star, whether that star is inside the server, whether that's a star in terms of publicity and attention and media. Everyone's going to have that star, and that's going to introduce an ego into things that's going to break things up. So it always feels to me like teams are always in pursuit of these windows that could be 6 months, could be 3 months, could be 1 month, you know, those windows that teams have is like where you have to strike hot, because the mindset isn't gonna be there rock solid the entire time. It's just you have to find the perfect moment to really get it.
And things constantly shift. I mean, other teams are making changes, getting better, improving. You got a target on your back. That's just the nature of things. That's normal for me. That's what makes it exciting and what makes it cool, you know, but that's always a cycle. You get to that point, you become the best. You're trying to stay on top as much as possible, right? Eventually people catch up with you a little bit. Maybe you fall off. Maybe those things, like you said, happens. Egos start to come up, or maybe some friction between the team, and then perhaps you're forced to start switching some things up, and then the cycle starts.
We're going to see that
you
with
know,
Vitality, right? Because like you referenced Vitality, like teams want what Mongolz has or what Vitality has. Obviously, Mongolz didn't have it at the start of the year with Shui, right? And that's why they got rid of him, right? There was obviously a little bit of unrest there, and they decided to go with that and then pick up Spinks, who was available. Vitality had such a great first half of the year, but now they're still good, right? They're just not great because Vitality have set their standards so high. But it's rockier out there. And for them to be able to pull it together, this is where we're going to see are those frictions starting to exist, because they had frictions previously with Spinks, and they had won a major with Spinks, right? So it's curious to see like how this is going to involve one another, and how because you look at G2, they're a team who's doing very well in the second half of the year, right? They only came together in the break, so they're riding out the honeymoon right now, and that's when we talk about the honeymoon period of people being on their best behavior and everything. So it's when the going gets tough is when you start to see that line shift, right? And people go from being on their best behavior to like starting to, you know, bitch and moan a bit more, or, you know, they let out this sigh, or their tone of voice. It's such subtle things, but that's what we've discussed this a lot in recent shows, haven't we? But it is one of those things that plays into teams so much. And I think that this is the hard part for the coaches and the quote unquote leaders of the team, right? I guess more the people who are the heart of the team, to be able to keep everybody in a place where they're not resenting each other. And if they are, it's work, and people know that they need to put that aside when they're in the server and they're practicing with one another. Because you're not going to be the best team you can be if fucking people hate each other, right? That ain't going to happen. It's just not going to fucking happen.
It's always an interesting debate, because I mean, I know obviously the other side of that argument is you don't have to be best fucking friends and family to actually win together, and I don't think any of us would disagree with that. But I think we usually take the perspective from the other side.
There needs to be some respect, you know.
Right, like you don't have to like everyone. You're not going to be best friends, but
Exactly.
if that dislike has gone into disrespect professionally for the people you're playing the game with, then it's such a fucking issue.
Yeah.
Like it actually just stops you from doing anything.
Yeah, there does start to become some big issues, doesn't there?
You think G2's getting too hyped too quick?
Well, they won a tournament, right? So that immediately brings hype within itself, right? So you win a tournament, especially an arena tournament. It wasn't like they just won like a run-of-the-mill thing. It wasn't just a studio event or something. But I think Saw said it in an interview, and I think we said it when we were talking about it. The expectation of them to win an event that quickly wasn't there, but the expectation that they were going to play good Counter-Strike exists, and I think that still existed throughout, right? Like, it's unfortunate that they matched up against Furia. What is it, the fourth time they've played each other in the span of like a couple of months, or since the season has started, because they played twice in Cologne. They played once in Blast, and then they played again here at FISSURE. So, like, that's a familiar matchup for both of those teams now, and Furia took care of business, right? So it's interesting to see the back and forth between those two teams. I think the other framing I have here is, like, we were talking about this event with a lot of teams who were equally matched, right? Vitality's not there, Mongolz isn't there, Spirit's not there, who are normally the teams who we would say, yeah, these guys, these are the ones that you have to beat. So I think there's a bit more, you know, this team can beat this team, but they lose to this team, but this team beats that, you know, like that type of cycle. Yes. I think that can exist with this bunch. I think it's really good news overall. I think most of the teams we wanted to see make the playoffs are in the playoffs of this event, right? Like, you have G2, Mongolz, Aurora, Liquid, Furia, Astralis, Falcons, Pain, right? And I think, like, Astralis, Pain, Liquid were on that bubble of if they were going to make it.
I think if I got Faze Clan for Pain, that would have been pretty much it.
I think it'd make a much more exciting match for that Friday night game as well. I can't believe G2 versus Mongolz is the first match at 10 a.m., bro. Like, it's the best game. I was really excited to see that match. I still am excited to see that matchup. I just wish it was deeper in the tournament.
You wake up at 6 a.m.
It's at 4 a.m. It's at 4 a.m. for me. If it makes it. Liquid's playing at 7:30 in the morning East Coast, so 4:30 in the morning West
Aurora
Coast.
are gonna ruffle stomp them.
Nah, not dude. Fucking after that Zontaras tweet, dude, he's choking. He's gonna fucking collapse. You give him one bad round early on, he's gonna be shook.
Jason didn't learn from my transgressions, Yanko. He will be under fire. And
dude, I just don't care. Like,
will burn under you, Jason.
It's all like that's. My dogs are going crazy. Hey, girls, chill. Reagan.
I was like, if that works,
I know that actually works.
I'm out.
Hey, Reagan, come here.
Yo, stop barking. Yeah.
What was I gonna? Oh no, he's like that's got to be the most like brittle tweet to have your mentality just like again like this just happened like what in the first half of the year where things were going good and then it was like, man, why doesn't everyone in the arenas cheer for us? And it's just like it's just such I don't know it's such a brittle mentality to me that like. It might just be like just an emotional frustration off the top of his head, but for me, that feels very revealing. And it wouldn't surprise me if he had a bad game in the playoffs. And there's a huge difference between Aurora with Zontaras playing well, as we're seeing, and Zontaras playing poorly, as we saw at the end of the first season of the year.
This is what I think. I think that we discussed earlier on, if like these players had an issue, what they should have done is go into one another or have their managers do it or whatever, and then go to the tournament organizer and say, let's play on the rolled back version, please. Like, that's what we would do at any other event. So can we do that here?
Yeah.
Because I think what you're saying is like the fact that it's being put out publicly, whether it is like a mental preparation of a quote unquote like excuse, it's
telling on yourself.
It can be interpreted that way, right? Like, so I think that right there is probably the drama. Like the thing is, like I was saying earlier, there have been some issues with the game that people have been experiencing, and I don't want to dismiss those issues. And I'm not going to sit there and say that the spray hasn't been changed because of sub-tick changes. It very well could have been changed because of sub-tick changes, right? And these are two of the best rifles in the world expressing.
It's not that it's right. Yeah, it's not that he's right or wrong. Like he could be right. I don't know, but. Like, it's just such a crazy thing in my mind to put out. Because it's exactly what, like, for me, it's exactly what Yanko said at the start of the show. It's like self-reporting that you're so frustrated that you're finally getting your groove back, and now you go into a server and after update, you feel like everything's changed. And you're about to fucking placebo yourself right into a shit performance in the quarterfinals. So, yeah, Liquid's winning that game.
Okay, interesting. Interesting.
I talked myself into a really heavy underdog pick there, didn't I?
I wouldn't necessarily go that far, but should be interesting at the very least.
I like that Aurora being so it looks like their two main maps are Dust 2 and Mirage, at least from the picks that they made at this tournament, right? And one of the big things for me on Aurora Watch was how are they going to navigate the loss of Anubis throughout the season, right? Because you have to elevate something more to the top of your map pool. So they picked Dust 2 a couple times. They picked Mirage as well. And I think that if they can be strong on those maps, those are staple maps in everybody's map pool. So it's really nice to be able to flex those and go into those confidently against teams. So that right there is already a positive sign for me regarding them. And they went 3-0 within the group stage, same as Falcons, right? Like, so those, I guess the thing with Aurora was, what did they 2-0'd Tyloo. They lost a map to Astralis. Who's the third team they played?
Furia.
Okay, how did the Furia result?
Furia 2-0.
Okay, and that's a big win because Furia are one of the teams that I think are on the rise this season so far. Whereas Aurora just have the same roster since the Jota edition at the start of the year, and their biggest boon is consistency that they've been able to display. It's just now finding that championship level. The problem for them is they're on the harder side of the bracket, and they've had problems on stages previously. They get Liquid first game, then they play winner of G2 Mongolz second game. So we'll see what happens there, but they could be in back-to-back grand finals, right? They were in the grand final at EWC,
yeah.
So they're one of the front runners alongside the Falcons who 2-0'd every game. I think for the first 3 maps they played, they dropped a total of, I don't know, maybe 8 rounds or something over the first 3 maps. They just fucking were dominating. Like their opening game was like a 13-1, 13-2, and then it was like a 13-5 or something, I think. So it's positive signs for the teams we want to see positive signs for.
I haven't been able to catch nearly as many Falcons games as I've wanted to. I'm gonna have to watch some VODs, but if I just look at the stats of the event, like, are they playing well, or is this just pop-offs? They've got Kiyosuke's number 1, Tessa's number 2, Nico number 3, and Monesi is number, 6 for the event. Like, they've got 4 players in the top 6.
The teams they beat were teams that they should beat, right? Like, so I think that factors in a little bit as well. I think this is where the test really begins. The biggest name team they beat was Faze, who we know, right, is all over the place right now. That's after the announcement of the roster.
Oh, they beat VP and Legacy were the other 2 teams.
Right?
Okay. Yeah,
and VP is...
They beat 3 teams that are not in the playoffs.
Yeah. And VP's
So-
VP.
But they took care of
They,
business.
they continued in a manner in which we saw them at EWC for the most part, right? They haven't looked as bad as a team as they did in Cologne, right? And then individuals are popping off. They've looked more solid, and Nico has been playing better. I mean, he's been playing really well, managing to find good impact. Test's too. So, yeah, I think it's just hard to really judge. They, as Chad said, they took care of business. They did what they needed to, and now in the playoff. Well, also, I mean, they go up against Pain. I expect them to make light work of Pain, and then even Astralis is going to be hard for them. But Furia might be if it becomes Falcons Furia in the semifinal, like that could be interesting.
That one could go either way, especially with the renewed form I think we're seeing from Furia at the moment. I think, Pain's an interesting one to me. I don't really know where to place them. I don't think they have the punch to be a consistent team, but they definitely do have the punch to win an upset game like this, right? Like I wouldn't predict it, but I think it is possible, right? Like I wouldn't rule it out from them taking down Falcons in the game tomorrow. So I'd prefer for the crowd if we had a G2 Falcons grand final, to be completely honest with everybody playing at home.
Oh, for sure. That's the dream final. But I tell you, I have to believe that Pain cannot upset this game against Falcons. Like, I don't know. I agree with you because they don't have a lot of punch, Pain. I agree with that description 100%. But I feel like if there's any team in this bracket that you have to have some punch to beat, it's Falcons. Like, how do you beat this team without any punch?
Well, Inferno's a good start, which I know that when they played against Legacy, Legacy tried to punish pick against them. They've made some changes on that map. Nico's now the A rotating rifler.
Kiyosuke's the B player.
Exactly right. And he had a real tough start in that game. He was like 0-7. And then his first kills came when he was playing Arch side. Right, he got like a triple kill or something playing Arch side on A. And then when they started to go B a couple more rounds, he started to get some kills. And he ended up, I think, in that map with the second most frags. Like, Nico was owning, and then Kiyosuke kind of joined him towards the top of the scoreboard, if I remember rightly. Where is it here? He was 0-7 at one point, ended the map 19 for 12 with a 1.58 rating.
It's not bad.
With the most multi-kills. So
that's not bad at all. He spotted him 7 rounds.
Yeah. So I think it also, like, for Nico, I think his experience is too valuable to have him just fucking throwing flashbangs at Banana or trying to take a swing on something like that. Like, use him as the rotator so he can be in the right place to secure these rounds. And I think that maybe it's not a natural fit knowing his career, but it's definitely the direction that I would imagine he is going as a player. And if you can still get very high Nico output while playing those spots, it is a boon for the team. Just puts a lot of trust in this Monesi Tess's A defense, but I think that's the way it was before anyway. I think Kiyosuke was the A rotating rifler before. So you would prefer to have Nico in that spot than Kiyosuke, a guy who had never fucking played the map, right? So if you're trying to mitigate some of your issues on Inferno, that's a positionally a very good place to start. But yeah, I need to see more from Falcons. This needs to be, I wouldn't say they have to make the grand final, but they have to play competitive Counter-Strike against Furia or Astralis to show that they're there, right? That they're in touching distance of where they need to be.
I'd paint this as if they play Astralis in the semis, it's like a must make the grand finals. If they play Fury in the semis, that's a challenge that I want to see a clash.
Okay.
But I mean, if you face off against Astralis, I think Falcons should be not rolling over them, but you should be making it past a team that just brought Magisk in as well. Actually, that's one we didn't really touch on so far this episode either. How's Magisk looked in the Astralis camp? Because the last episode when this happened, I was kind of like anti the Magisk move, but when they announced that it was just to the end of the year, end of the season, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's fine.
Yeah, again, excuse me, with a lot of this stuff, like what came out of the Spirit Camp about Zontix and all this, I do have a hard time believing the narrative that the orgs put out, but it is the only thing I can base it off unless I hear anything behind the scenes, right? So going with that piece of information, I think it's fun. In some of these maps, they've put Hooksy in more map control positions. I would see the guy before he's playing games. Like I've just been playing a lot of deathmatch every day, and I see him roll in. Like his name is like Kevin @ something, right? Like that's his name. He's in deathmatch playing, and his output.
Shout out to Kevin.
Yeah, well, his output in certain scenarios looks like it's enough. But I guess the question is more about Magisk, who I'm just trying to see where he ended up stat-wise for the team. He was the lowest rated player.
Yes.
So that's,
but I think their qualification series was his best series he played in his defense. If you wanna give him one, you know.
Well, I'm not trying to detract from him. I'm just trying to work out what the expectation is. Like, look.
I mean, he's another guy too that we have to, and he's another player where we have to say he's been out of competition for a while.
Not that long.
Not significantly long, but it's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah.
June.
Yeah,
June.
It's not really. I wouldn't say it's that
3 months.
long, and he's gone back to speaking Danish.
It feels longer.
Yeah. Well, tell me about it. I don't know. Like this is the thing. When things feel temporary, it's hard for me to be like, okay, but if this is and they are going to qualify for the major, right? So this would be the roster for the major. Their team doesn't have enough to contend for the major trophy. They might have enough to eke out a major playoff
spot.
But I don't think they have enough to go further than that. I just think they're lacking individual output, really. Like it's that would be it for me. But it's just more of the same. I think Astralis, with the addition of Hooksy, that's the best decision they made in a long time.
Yeah.
So they just, in my mind, they maintain that same position they were in with Stown. That's nothing crazy for me to really get excited about with them, but nothing to nag on either. So they just are where they are. IMHO, TBH, LOL.
What about you, Yanko? Anything to nag on over there?
Nag on what?
Astralis.
I think it's just, bro, I was doing this yesterday, and it's like they just changed, they added Magisk, they changed positions for him, some positions for Hooksy, and they're doing a 7-map map pool. It's like, trying to play the game on nightmare mode for him. In the game yesterday, a game against Gamer Legion, it was a little bit scrappy, but that's probably how it has to be at the moment for Astralis. I also am a little bit confused by this whole thing where Ston is
coming back.
Like it's allegedly, right? It's just a short-term thing for now. It might turn into a long-term thing, or it might not. Magisk as the replacement is fine. You get someone who's experienced, right? Even though he needs to learn some new positions. But I don't know where to put them, because it was exciting in Astana, right? Then at FISSURE, the previous one, they lose to Tyloo 2 times, and in a best-of-5 final, so you're like, what? But okay. I have really struggled to break through. Now you make a roster change, so I'm not really sure. This is where Furia definitely should win, unless they fuck up. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like Furia's the better team, so it has to be them screwing up for Astralis to win. I don't think Astralis is at a point right now where they can outplay Furia in that game.
I looking at some of the teams who didn't qualify, right? Like there's Tyloo and Linvision in there, and is their novelty wearing off, right? Are they just a team who's going to be able to capitalize on the best of ones when the major rolls around again? Like, I feel like they're not fleshed out enough, these teams, to be competing. Like they're not like the Mongolz. They just don't have the consistent output, especially when you look to some of the names that Linvision and Tyloo lost to within this event. So there's a little bit of a dampener there on Chinese Counter-Strike with that. They're on the bubble, but
it's looking like some of those runs were like little mini peaks versus what was actually, coming down the pipeline. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't an indication that they're stepping up. It was just like, here is a very nice run.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the expectation, is that's what we're going to see. Like maybe they have a good tournament, maybe they don't. They're not world beaters, unfortunately.
No, but there's some interesting players on both those teams. Like I wonder if you could put together a solid squad with the two teams. If you combine the rosters, you could probably put together a sick team.
I guess I'd want to identify like what's lacking from both of them, right? Like, is it a macro understanding? Is it individual output? Like I don't have that type of an answer. Like when I'm looking at, I keep fucking losing. I'm so bad with the brackets and shit. Here it is. When you look at who Tyloo lost to, right? So in their opening game, they beat Gamer Legion, who made it to a 2-2 game. But then Tyloo go on to lose to
Aurora.
They lost to Aurora, which is fine. Yeah, we'll give them that one. Then they lost to Mongolz, also fine. But then they lose to Liquid.
Liquid.
It's like you probably should be beating Liquid, right? And it was a 3-map series, so.
Well, that's like the one game that you point at and say winnable.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. So, whereas LinVision, let's look at LinVision's run. They lost their opening game to G2, expected. They lost to the Mongols, so that's not expected because you didn't expect the Mongols to lose their opening game to 3D Max. And then they lose to VP. So the one that looks bad there for LinVision is losing to VP, and it was a 2-0, even though one of the maps went overtime. So it just has a bad look. Like seeing Heroic go out in last place. Don't know. I don't have it.
Not a good look either.
Yeah, Heroic no longer have that magic anymore, right? Like they were able to piece together some rosters up until this point, but they're now they're a swing and a miss type team.
Same with Gamer Legion, bro. The Ash magic is starting to fade. I feel like it's been a while since we had like Gamer Legion's found a new little,
I feel like they haven't dropped though. They're still like kind of in that same area, and they keep buying themselves more like rope every time you change fucking AWPer. Like how many AWPers this
that
team?
Fucking res mentality.
This is their
just
fourth
giving you
AWPer
enough.
this year. They had Acor as a standard. They had Slend, right? They had this Cursey guy. Now they're going to have Hypex. They've had 4 AWPers this year alone. I know Acor was temporary, but still.
4 is excessive. Even if you're looking at them to make changes and try and strike gold, 4 is an excessive amount of offers
2 a
in 1
season.
year.
Why not?
2 a season. I think to me they fall into this group. It's hard to say because they made playoffs at Dallas. They made playoffs at Melbourne, right? Just ran into Falcons both times and couldn't do anything. But I was going to say they're one of these teams that, like 3D Max, that just do enough and they keep getting invited to events, but can't do too much. Again, now they made playoffs at 2 events, so I guess that's a lot.
That was a while ago, though. Don't go back on your own
fair
point.
enough. But just in general, I think if we had more of the NIPs and some of these other teams getting opportunities,
think it might look different
against
the
Gamer
landscape?
Legion. It might be different, right? It's just the benefit of constantly having the opportunity, right, and then making the most of it. But the most of it is never going to be a lot, if that makes sense, right?
These teams are just gatekeeper teams, right?
Yeah,
they do enough. Like I think Pain falls into that conversation as well. They do enough to continue to keep getting invited. They make a playoff every now and again.
Bro, there's nothing I saw from Pain that makes me believe they can become a perennial playoff team, contender. Like, no, they're very far away in terms of their Counter-Strike from being able to do that, and also individuals are, a little bit of a hit and miss. There's
they need like 2 changes, sure, like at least, right? You'd have to imagine.
Yeah, but we got this whole problem going on over in that part of the world,
in
right?
Brazil,
MIBR's just gone international. Furia's gone international. Like, again, we just continue to hit this bottleneck, and it's just, as far as the conversation goes, like, I'm fed up of talking about if we live in a fantasy land, right? And, like, unfortunately, we don't. So they're going to have to procure some talent from elsewhere to make that. And then,
it's just so unhealthy for the scene to the point where you're like, you guys, you're working against yourselves down there.
Yeah, but like, I guess the other thought is this is like, okay, so an organization like Pain, I'm sure everybody has aspirations. They want to be the best, but it's like, but if we can be a top 16 team in the world for a team from our region, that's pretty good, right? So maybe, it's just a bit of that mentality, which, can be quite
let's be real. There's a lot of orgs
who
who are just kind of sticker money.
Yeah, but like Pain
they're
are
not
in
even
a lot
top
of other
16
games too, right? So it's not like they're exclusively just in it for Counter-Strike. And I think that, right, at the end of the day, if you're looking to earn a livable wage and whatever, you can that's okay. Obviously, they'd have aspirations. They want to win, right? The players definitely do.
Sure.
But in terms of making sure you stay in this zone where you continue to get major spots and invites to the best events, that's a healthy spot to be as well, right? You're not lifting trophies like a Vitality or a Mongolz or a G2, but you're still in the conversation. And that's one of the things, like, our conversation is always very top heavy. We're talking about who can be the best. Like, our framing is who can be the best Counter-Strike team in the world. That's our framing, right? Like that, we're not, dipping down into those lower conversations. So everything's measured by that benchmark, which is maybe why people think we can be dismissive of teams that they're fans of. But, we're looking.
Yeah, I guess so.
We're looking for the best of the best, the creme de la creme.
Yeah.
Do we miss anything else news-wise? Like, is there anything outside of FISSURE that we kind of missed that happened? I know, like I mentioned, StarLadder's on right now. We talked about the updates
StarLadder
briefly.
just started today or yesterday or something like that.
StarLadder started today.
Oh yeah, I remember one thing about G2 that bothers me.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'll tie into the G2 Mongolz game as well. In a couple of interviews, they already said like, yeah, it's been a little bit rough for us, coming straight back from Blast into this tournament and whatnot. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, Blast was online for the group stages, so you were playing from home.
You went to London for 4 days.
You went to London for 4 days, and now you're in Belgrade for 10 days, right? And before that, you had EWC where you played one game and you lost.
Yeah.
I get it. The schedule is, tough and whatnot, but that's a little bit, what are we talking about here? It's like this isn't that.
Maybe it's
right?
because the players aren't so used to that.
Could be that, but and I think what I hate just at 10 a.m. is early to play a game, man. I'm sure that they'll have to be there at like 8:30, 8:45 is what the FISSURE will probably require.
Wait, are you
them.
memeing right now or are you being serious right now?
No, I'm being serious. You have to wake up at this is not, people usually don't start. Like you wake up, you start practicing at maybe 11. You meet at 10 or whatever. This is not like a default schedule. And I say this more because of the Mongolz, right? Because they did play first game of the day against I don't know who.
Oh, they were yawning, weren't they?
Yeah, I don't know if it was the game they lost or they lost the first map and then came back on the other two. But for them, I feel like it's going to be a bigger problem than it will be for G2 with all the staff and everything. So I think that's just... I will hate it if I have to talk about that as a factor because these are the two teams in the quarterfinal that won the last two S-tier tournaments,
But it'd be
Like,
disingenuous not to, wouldn't it, Jason?
Yeah, this
It wouldn't
is the
be.
game of the playoffs probably up until the grand final. It's the best quarterfinal without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
So that, and also I want to ask you guys this, right? Talking about the Mongolz, which is absolutely mental to me. They have not practiced at all from their win at EWC to FISSURE.
Yeah.
In over 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And if you remember, they also haven't practiced in the
Cologne.
player break. They went into
yeah.
Cologne
Yeah.
with no practice.
Yeah.
What the hell is going? Can you imagine any other team saying this? Can you imagine
But we all love
Liquid
the
saying
Mongols,
this?
Yango.
Okay. Like, can you even Vitality, Mouse? Can you imagine these other contender teams or Falcons were on blast because they started their boot camp, team building and not playing
With no
Counter-Strike from
PCs.
day one. Just a day with no PCs. And it was like the craziest
Okay,
shit. These
that
dudes don't
part's
practice
funny.
at all.
That part got me in.
What's going
I'm
on?
hooked.
They just practice at the
It's funny
event.
as shit.
The event, I guess the thing is, they're guaranteed to be qualified for the major. Rather, that's happening no matter what. They 100% will be playing at the major. So I'm sure there's some rhyme to the reason of their mentality. It's going to be tough to get any decent practice going on in that part of the world, right? We know that you're going to play in Europe from Mongolia with 110 ping. I played against a Mongolian stack the other day on Ancient. We fucking rumbled them. We fucking threw them around. It wasn't even close. So, I can understand, you'd be pracking against your countrymen who you're miles above, especially this Mongolz level. When I was in the Oz teams, we were better than everyone else in Oz. So going home felt frivolous. You'd fall into more bad habits than you would anything else.
This is what all the America teams talk about as well.
Yeah, so when you look at
Really
this and you can make rationale of why, but then I guess you could start asking questions of, okay, but why don't they come 4 days early and practice for 4 days before the event to gear themselves up? I guess they're just so confident in their individual output that they'll be able to make it through. Or they just don't give a fuck. Maybe they just don't care.
There is a door number 3.
Oh, not the third
All
door
of those,
again.
yeah, the fucking third door, man. It's opening up.
Knock, motherfucker.
It's they want to spend the time at home while they can and feel like if they go out and do those things, they're going to burn out quicker and it's going to have a net negative overall.
Yeah. It does make it hard to be able to grade them, though, doesn't it?
I know. I'm with you. But I don't know. Would it? We obviously don't know all the details, but would it make you feel better if they were we didn't practice for the last 2 weeks after EWC because we didn't feel like the competition in Mongolia was worth it, but instead we've been hopping on Discord and watching 3 demos a day as a team.
They have not been done that. They have not been doing that.
How do you know?
I just know.
Well, we should ask the question of why, right? We should ask the question of why. It would be important to get to the bottom of the why. So maybe we could ask the question why. I don't know.
Look, I I was critical of it in Cologne, and I'm with you, Yanko. I still want to be critical of it now, but if you're going to show up and win EWC and you're going to show up here and make it to the final, like
they practiced for EWC, Jason. It was for Cologne that they didn't practice, and they ended up losing to fucking Na'Vi, right?
But what if you come here now with no practice and make the finals?
They had a week's worth to Na'Vi, who couldn't beat anyone all year long, pretty much, right? That's one good result for Na'Vi this year. It's making semifinals of Cologne. So you could have, if you practiced, maybe, seeing as how good they were at EWC, and they beat Vitality at Blast as well on LAN. So you're thinking maybe, okay, what if they beat Na'Vi, then played Spirit, who was a dead team, in the semifinal, and then they had a grand final against Mouse. Maybe they would have won Cologne this season as well.
Yeah, maybe.
Look,
how about that? How about we praise it that way instead of, oh yeah, they won EW, they're playing well, and they might, they're in another playoffs here. It's like, yeah,
Mate,
but
I'm not trying to defend the decision.
Less.
I'm just saying, if they're going to show up into this event, make it like, maybe they came into this and they were like, you know what, we don't necessarily really want to worry about Fissure too much. We're going to use this as kind of the lead in to Pro League. We're going to use this as a lead in towards the run up to the major. Let's not boot camp. Let's not practice. Let's go into Fissure dry. That'll be our boot camp for the upcoming events. I don't know, like, if that's the way you want to structure your year. We know other teams do that. We know other teams use, I mean, maybe not so much in the VRS era, but use events as a kind of a warm up or a lead in.
Yeah, like again, I would like to talk to them and understand if there is a logic behind it, because if it is just like season planning, right? You can take a look at their run from now. So they play Fissure. Then after Fissure, they have a couple weeks off until EPL, which doesn't start until the 3rd of October. And Fissure is going to end on the 21st, right? So they have, fucking 2 weeks, right? Then they'll play that, and then they're going to stay around in Europe, and they're going to play Thunderpick. And Thunderpick is a $850,000 tournament where the biggest names of that event are themselves Fury, Aurora, Na'Vi, OG, Imperial, 9Z, Venom. Right, those are the teams there. Then they're going to play that, which is going to take place in Malta. Then from there, we don't know if they're playing PGL Bucharest or not, because Bucharest hasn't put PGL haven't put the invites out of who's actually been invited. But let's assume that they're not, because they're at Chengdu. So then they're going to go to Chengdu. Then after Chengdu, they will be in invite contention for Blast Rivals, which they skipped the Rivals event last time, I'm pretty sure, because the invite fell to FlyQuest, maybe? I could double check that, but I'm not going to, because whatever. And then if they decide to play Rivals, 10 days later, the major begins. So maybe they're just taking it a bit lighter at this portion of the season, and then they're going to ramp up and gear up for the tail end of the season. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of with you though, Yanko. Like, why aren't you taking every opportunity you have while in front of you? But it'd be an interesting conversation to have with them. Maybe we can ask them at Pro League what the thought process is.
Take 10 days off after EWC. Practice just for a week. Just just make sure you're playing some Counter-Strike. Maybe refresh a couple of things. Work on some of your weaker maps that maybe teams will try and pick against you. I'm not saying go full on into the lab and do a boot camp, right? No, but just not to touch the game, really. You remember what happened to Mouse at the end of first season last year? They won the Bet Boom tournament, right? And they just had Dallas left as the final tournament of the season.
And they didn't
practice for like the 10 days or whatever days in between. They show up to Dallas and they're out in last place.
Sure.
And you just, all the confidence that you've gained got shot because, you couldn't push through just one more event. They've definitely learned their lesson, so hopefully the Mongols do too.
Yeah, well, they're getting away with it right now, aren't they?
Of course, they'll go and win the tournament.
Yeah, they very well could do. I think that now I'm actually a bit more jazzed for the matches. Most of the dead teams are out of the tournament now, which is nice to see. And there should be, G2 Mongols is great. Fury Astralis has me interested. Once we get into Falcons versus either of those two, that's fun. Once we get into Aurora versus either the Mongols or G2, I think that's fun. So I think that there's a couple of games in the quarters that are good. The semis should be good overall. And then the final, as long as we get Falcons or
as long
Furia,
as it's Falcons G2.
Or Aurora, Mongols, G2, either of those, that'll make a good event. So overall, pretty content.
Who do you feel is winning it?
I don't know. I couldn't. If you were asking me to pick a horse, I couldn't. I think they're too equally matched across the board here. I think I'd have to look at matchups. I'd have to look at vetoes. There's a lot of things. And I don't think that one team has shown that they're more informed than anybody else at the event by metrics that I'd measure. I
fucking gave you, I gave you a layup.
Oh,
Chad.
Aurora. Aurora are going to fucking win, Jason. They're going to light this server up. You think it's an excuse from Zentares? It's just him telling the Counter-Strike world, Valve, this isn't good enough. You want to add these fucking Genesis terminal fucking skin things? Well, Zentares is going to say that the game right now, it's not feeling as it should. Anyway,
Fuck yeah.
Seriously, though, about this Genesis terminal thing, you guys seen this shit?
I've seen it. I haven't actually looked at it in practice inside the game client.
So from what I understand is you can get it from a weekly drop, right? You get weekly drops by playing and you get a certain amount of experience or whatever, then those weekly drops happen. So you could get this terminal thing. Now, I'm one of the biggest Valve shills I know, right? I'm up there. I'm up there for sure. I've got to be in like the top 3 Valve shills who's not a Valve employee. I'm not a skins guy. We've discussed this plenty of times before in this show. We played Counter-Strike back when skins were never a thing. Obviously, it's added to the game and some interest and et cetera, et cetera. Now, I know in certain countries like the Netherlands, France, some of these countries, they have issues with the loot crates, which is fine. That's their legislation. They can do what they want. This Genesis terminal is essentially a thing you can get in your weekly drop, right? So you get the terminal and then you open it up. And within that, you can't get a knife, but you can get blues, purples, pinks, reds, right? So like everything else besides a knife. You'll get an offer. So it'll roll. You get an offer, maybe it's a P250. And Booth, which is the arms deal guy, will tell you like, okay, this is worth 39 cents. Do you want it or do you not? And then you click like, nah, I don't want this one. Then it'll roll again. So you get 5 of these like things where it'll roll. And every time you'll get offered a new skin. Maybe you get offered the same skin, but either way, you'll get offered like minimal wear, factory new, stat track, whatever. And the value is put on the skin. So it's not like it was before where you would earn a crate from playing and then you would buy the key to open it. And you could get anything from a shitty Sand Dune P250 to a Gamma Doppler
so you
knife.
open the terminal and determine if you want to buy the item.
So and this has drawn a lot of attention, right? Because like, for example, if you have the factory new stat track M4, it's listed at like $1,600.
Yeah, well, they brought back your favorite thing of all time, Chad, which is the global economy, the relative economy. So apparently what it is the pricing system also goes through demand. So prices are global and adjusted automatically based on demand for each item in the collection. But
to me, I think that this has to be coming from a place to get around the countries that banned the loot crates, right? Because like Gamba, right? That's the way that...
That's what I would assume.
But like...
I bet the skin community has a different take on it.
Well, I guess the skins community take, which is like, it's so funny to see that screenshot from 1.6 and people complaining about the same shit.
I loved that.
I really
like
that.
Great.
But the skin stuff is obviously more recent than that. But like, I guess this is the angle. When Valve adds more cosmetics to the game, everyone's angle is they're just trying to make more money. Like, fuck Valve. This is all about money, 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 money. Which they're a business. I'm sure to some degree it is. But when we talk to the devs, the conversation is about creating the best game possible, which I know sounds so ridiculous when I say it because people are going to be like, but all these fucking problems, right?
I know.
Fair enough, guys. I'm not saying there aren't problems. There's definitely a lot of problems. But part of me, the Valve shill part of me, hopes that the decision to do this Genesis thing is not the new direction they're going to go. It's just to mitigate certain countries in the world that don't like the loot crate model because it's too close to gambling, so that like this seems less bad than the alternative of they're going to move to this full time because they know that people are willing to pay thousands of dollars for skins, right? But Valve don't get those thousands of dollars for the skins, right? Because people are doing that on external marketplaces. By charging $1,500 for something that would go straight to Valve, that's different. Normally, you'd only pay whatever the fee to open a case is in your country, right? And you might get something worth $1,500 or $5.
Does that mean like in the future? Like, I mean, is this supposed? I mean, this is where I guess I would feel really ignorant and almost stupid asking questions like this. But is this where you feel like, I don't know, is this something they roll out specifically in those countries, and then
it's rolled out for
the rest of countries? Yeah, but the rest, like, are they just going to make a new terminal instead of cases moving forward?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like,
and then how do you get knives?
Well, yeah, that's another whole thing, right? And there's a lot of qualms that do come with this, and I'm not a skin expert, so I feel a little bit silly talking about it.
If you are a skin expert or a member of the skin community, please feel free to drop a comment in the YouTube chat of how the skin community is taking this, because I actually truly would be curious. I'm very interested to know, because this part of the scene is completely dark to me.
People are very unhappy with it. I'll tell you that much. I just think the idea.
I've seen that from the Reddit comments.
Just the idea, though, Jason. Imagine it gets offered. It's like, Jason, you can have this M4. You just like essentially you opened it, but I'll offer it to you for $1,500.
That's a bit much, isn't it? But that's where those prices are going to have to come down, right? Like if no one's buying that $1,500, it's supposed to automatically come down until people start buying it at something.
I guess we'll see, right? It's going to happen over time. But again, it's one of the less interesting elements of Counter-Strike to me, which is probably one of the most interesting elements of Counter-Strike to a lot of people. I really just care about the competitive scene, the way the game feels, and that's about it. But yeah, it's just interesting to see what type of business decisions Valve are making. And as I said, I hope from the shill perspective, this is just to get around blocks in countries where they can't make money so they can try and make money.
Yes.
Which, sounds bad within itself, right? Because it feels like it's like, oh, you've been banned, you're looking for a way around it. But again, they are a business. They are going to look at how they can make money with the rules that are in place within
Especially
those countries.
when they're watching other people make a shit ton of money off of their product. That probably tilts them to no end, I would imagine.
Yeah, but like,
or at least someone in the company.
Valve, but like this is where you get Valve, billion-dollar company, like they don't do enough. That's where that rhetoric starts, Jason. So it's a very fine line to walk between the two of them for them, and that's probably a big reason why they don't communicate with anybody. So yeah. Yeah. All right.
Speaking of lack of communication, I feel like we've really done one here today, boys.
Yeah.
Yanko, you've got rehearsal coming up.
Maybe.
You enjoy that caster life.
It's been it's been a little bit
all over the place.
Yeah.
I see that you guys don't have PCs. You just have program monitors.
Yep.
So here's my one free. I'll do consulting for free right now to any TO who wants to run Counter-Strike. So, FISSURE, you got a couple problems. One, your HUD is delayed ever so slightly. It's annoying. Two, you need observers who are doing a better job. They're missing a lot of action. They're changing to cinematics and stuff when they shouldn't be, and it does make the viewing experience jarring. In terms of the kick thing, I don't give a fuck. It's free. People can watch it, so that's fine by me. I
really hate the kick discourse these days.
You have to ignore it. You can't get involved in it. If you get involved in it,
it's one of those arguments that I see it pop up and it tilts me to no end. Yeah. It tilts me to no end.
Just got to ignore it. And then the other one is like give your casters PCs with CSTV access because they can do a better job for you. So that's something that I think is important. You don't want your color commentators having to guess what the money situation looks like in the next round because they're not able to look at the fucking end of the round and calculate what the buy is going to be. Give them the ability to be in CSTV. I think that's what you should do. But I have heard from some men on the ground, this StarLadder event does have very good PC specs, which bodes well for the major. I've heard they've got the latest AMD processors as well as like 50 series graphics cards. So if that's the case, that's really good news. In terms of everything else, I haven't really been able to watch a lot of the broadcast. I watched the Bait versus Paravision game. I didn't watch NIP versus OG because we were doing this. But Passion, aka Jason's boys, up against Gentle Mates up next. So that'll be a fun game, Jason. You can put Grim on the television.
Oh, dude, I'm so pumped. Dude, actually, my fucking mom loves Grim from when I was coaching. She thinks Grim's the best. She asked me questions about Grim's career. It's kind of funny. Yeah, man, Passion.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm happy to get out of here if you boys are.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Arrivederci.